Welcome into Election Night 2025 here in the City of Aurora. My name is John Giles, our communications manager. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight as we're going to be your one-stop shop for all things election night here in Aurora. We're going to have live vote totals updated up to the minute as the four counties vote totals come in. We're going to have live guests, interviews, analysis, and live reports from Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp and Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp. This is the place to be for election night. I'm so glad that you're here joining us on many different platforms. We're live right now on the City of Aurora's Facebook page. We're live on YouTube, Twitch, and Aurora Community Television, Channel 10, Xfinity, Channel 99, AT&T Uverse. Please keep in mind, if you're watching on social media, that comments are enabled for this telecast. So feel free to let us know how you're feeling about tonight's election. You could comment live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We're looking forward to reading those comments as time permits, but we have so much to get to here tonight, so we're glad that you're here joining us. Now, before we get started, would like to address something right off the top. This production is being brought to you by the City of Aurora's Communications and Marketing Department. Throughout the broadcast, we will not be endorsing any candidates. We're simply doing our best to provide you with great coverage of today's elections and the results that follow. Tonight, we're glad to be together, serving this for you, the community members. We've heard many a time, how do I find all the results in one place? Or how do I find out about each candidate that's going to be running in my ward or for mayor? This is what this telecast is going to be doing for you tonight. We're here to provide you a service, and we're so glad that you've chosen to join us. So please enjoy the show, enjoy the service, and enjoy all the guests and all the fun things that we have planned here tonight. We're going to get to candidate profiles here right now. Let's talk about each candidate that we're going to be seeing on the ballot here tonight in Aurora. We're going to start with the mayor's race. Of course, a highly contested mayor's race at that many people have been hearing about for the past couple of weeks. Mayor Richard C. Irvin, the incumbent, who is running for a third term, is on the ballot first. Irvin has campaigned on C, safety, education, and economy. Under his rule, or under his administration rather, the City of Aurora's assessed value has gone up by over $2 billion. A decrease has occurred in the city's portion of the property taxes by about 20%, and there's been significant citywide infrastructure projects taken on and improvements made, like the Bloomhaven campus or, of course, the Hollywood Casino Aurora. Irvin is looking to make more history in Aurora should he win a third term, at least according to media reports on his campaign website. Top priorities include the first high-rise apartment building in downtown in more than 100 years, also a better transportation system between downtown, the Fox Valley Mall, and the new Hollywood Casino Aurora. Irvin has been endorsed by a number of different organizations. We don't want to list all of them here, but some of them include the Chicago Tribune, Daily Herald, Association of Professional Police Officers, and Aurora Firefighters Local 99. An interesting fact about Mayor Irvin: if he wins, he will become the fourth mayor since 1965 to serve 3 or more terms as mayor. He would join Tom Weisner, David Pierce, and Albert McCoy. His opponent is Alderman-at-Large John Laesch. Laesch burst onto the scene in 2023 as he won that seat, defeating incumbent Sherman Jenkins. Laesch ran for the position, obviously, in 2021 as mayor, finished in third place, but has some more support this time around and is looking to make an impact. On his website, he emphasizes campaign finance and ethics reform, high-speed broadband internet, a new city sustainability department, crime prevention, police accountability, and building more affordable single-family homes. Alderman Laesch has been endorsed also by a number of elected officials and groups, including former Governor Pat Quinn, Congressman Chuy Garcia, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, and Senator Karina Villa. Interesting fact about Laesch: he is a union carpenter who grew up in West Africa with his parents, who were missionaries. He is also a former naval intelligence analyst and also formerly ran for the 14th Congressional District seat, losing to Bill Foster back in 2008. Let's move on to Alderman-at-Large. New race here in Aurora. We have the incumbent and we have the challenger. Alderman-at-Large Ron Warman, who is looking to serve his second 4-year term. Warman is running on a platform that includes economic development, fiscal responsibility, and the opportunity to play locally through entertainment, activities, charity, along with public safety. Warman has also been endorsed by a number of different organizations, including similar ones to Mayor Richard C. Irvin. Association of Professional Police Officers, Aurora Firefighters Local 99, and the Aurora Sergeants Association. Warman is the owner of O'Malley's Pub and Eatery and Spartan House, plus assisted in redeveloping the old West Aurora School District building located at 80 South River Street. Keith Larson is his challenger. This is the first time Larson has ever run for political office. He is a current Ward 3 resident, and he's running on a platform that includes campaign finance and ethics reform, pedestrian and road safety, higher paying jobs for residents, and the importance of employee-owned businesses to counteract automation, making sure that AI does not leave people unemployed. Larson has been endorsed by the CAIR Action Illinois team, by the Young Democrats of DuPage County, and Alderman-at-Large. John Laesch. Larson is a full-time software engineer and plays guitar. We'll move on to Ward 1 Alderman. This is going to be the most contested race of the evening. There are 4 different candidates running, one of which is an appointee by Mayor Richard C. Irvin, so we'll start with him. Ward 1 Alderman currently, Daniel Barrero. Daniel Barrero was a City Hall staffer for 35 years. He was also the vice president of the East Aurora Board of Education. He served there till 2024. And right now, he is appointed by the mayor. He was appointed back in September. And if he wins tonight, or if any of these gentlemen win tonight, they will be serving an unexpired 2-year term. This term and this appointment was created due to the resignation of former Ward 1 Alderman Emmanuel Yamas. Barrero is focused on supporting new businesses that meet the needs of Ward 1 residents, also an advocate of better downtown parking, improvements to South Broadway, and improvements to Butterfield Road on Aurora's far northeast side. Served on a number of community boards, including the Community Foundation, Fox Valley Park District, and Fox Valley United Way. Hugo Saltagero, one of his challengers, is currently the executive director of Valley Shelter Workshop. He's a former precinct committeeman. He also formerly worked at Hesed House. Saltagero, is focused on reinvesting in families, which would include directing resources toward lowering the cost of living, supporting education, creating safer neighborhoods, and expanding opportunities for those who live and work in Aurora. Bishop Jeffrey Donaldson, also running, currently the senior pastor at Everlasting Word Church. He's running on a platform that includes lower taxes for working families, building more affordable housing for Aurora, and increasing engagement in the community. Donaldson has formerly run for Alderman-at-Large back in 2003 and again in 2005. He has served in ministry for over 30 years in Aurora and has done countless hours of volunteer work at Wayside Cross Mission and Hesed House, also serving as a senior chaplain with the Aurora Police Department for a time. And Ray Hall. Ray Hall is currently retired but formerly served as an East Aurora School District board member, and he was the City of Aurora's water and sewer superintendent. He worked with the city for 30-plus years. He is also a former Aurora Planning Commissioner and has run previously for Alderman-at-Large. Hall has advocated for neighborhood beautification and revitalization, proper street lighting, and proactive tree trimming. He's also a proponent of cutting what he calls wasteful spending at City Hall. Hall was also formerly one of the youngest presidents of the Public Works Local Union in history at 22 years old. He served that role for 10 years before transitioning into management. So that's Ward 1. That's going to be a race we're really going to be watching here tonight. On to Ward 2. Alderwoman Wani Garza, the incumbent who served in this position since 2005, has one challenger here tonight. She is Aurora's first ever elected Hispanic alderwoman to serve on the city council. She is seeking a 5th term to serve on the council here tonight. Garza will continue to push for economic development, neighborhood beautification, public safety, and community engagement. Her popular Ward 2 Scholarship Fund awarded nearly $32,000 in scholarships to Ward 2 Aurora students, and she is currently endorsed by Mayor Richard C. Irvin. She's also served on a number of community organizations, including the Kiwanis Club, Hispanic Civic Alliance of Illinois, and the League of United Latin American Citizens. Her challenger is Alfonso Santoyo, a veteran, University of Chicago economics graduate and a local union member. Santoyo is pushing for better communications regarding public meetings and city council interactions to increase Ward 2 engagement. He's also looking to increase transparency through his experience as a contract negotiator, working to let Ward 2 residents know what's come through city council, and he is currently endorsed by Alderman-at-Large John Laesch. On to Ward 4. We'll talk a lot about Ward 4 in a little bit as we have our retiring Ward 4 alderman joining us around 7:40. But we have 2 candidates looking to replace him, and it's been a tight race, to say the least. First is Jonathan Nunez, a longtime business strategist, 4th-generation Aurora resident, graduate of East Aurora High School and Aurora University. Nunez wants to proactively work with neighbors, law enforcement, and local organizations to foster safer neighborhoods, and he's been publicly endorsed by the Kane County Democrats in addition to East Aurora School Board member Saul Olivas. Jeffrey Hansford, his opponent, has served as a first-grade teacher at Bardwell Elementary School for over 20 years, and he's running on a platform of environmental and financial stability, economic growth, fine arts, and education. He's a very popular school teacher in that district, and he's running against Nunez here tonight. On to Ward 7, another contested race. Alderman Brandon Tolliver, who is currently serving as Ward 7 Alderman, as he was appointed to the position by Mayor Richard C. Irvin in 2023 following the untimely death of former Alderwoman Shakita Hart-Burns. So Tolliver is running for his first election, and he's looking to be retained here tonight. He serves as a commercial construction underwriter for the Hartford Group and is a member of the Black Insurance Professionals Network. Tolliver is running on a platform that spotlights transparency, community safety, economic development, infrastructure improvements, and better access to quality of life services provided by the city. While in office, he's held the first ever Ward 7 community meeting, created quarterly game nights with the senior living community, and has held over 10 free community events. His top goal per his campaign website is, in caps, community. Tolliver is also currently endorsed by Mayor Richard C. Irvin. His opponent is Javier Banuelos, a lifelong Aurora resident, graduate of Waubonsie Valley High School, and current oncology professional. He's running on a platform of safer streets for families, open communication with Ward 7 residents, transparency, accountability, and support for senior citizens. He has been endorsed by State Senator Karina Villa and East Aurora School Board member Saul Olivas as well. Ward 9, Alderman Edward Bugg, as long as things go his way, will retain his position. Nobody's running against him tonight. Bugg has served as Aurora's Ward 9 Alderman since 2013, and if he wins, obviously he will get a fourth term in office. And then in Ward 10, Alderwoman Shweta Bade, who first won in 2021. She's already served a 4-year term. She is also running unopposed here tonight, so if she were to win, obviously, she will retain her seat, and she will serve for another 4 years. So those are the candidates here tonight. It's a lengthy list. We're going to do our best to keep track of all of them, and we're going to be your go-to spot for those numbers pouring in. You see those slides on your screen that we've kind of gone through. Those will be updated with numbers throughout the evening. We have a great team behind the scenes tracking all 4 county websites. They're going to be sure to update those numbers as vote totals come in. So we'd like to welcome in now our first guest of the evening, one of many, and certainly grateful that he chose to spend some time here with us tonight. He is the current alderman of Ward 6. He served in that position for over 40 years, also the creator of the Riverwalk Commission and the Ukulele Festival here in downtown Aurora. Let's welcome in Alderman Mike Saville. Alderman, it is great to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. So what's it like for you tonight? Because you've run in, 10 of these now? What's it like to be on the sidelines and watch this one from afar?
Well, it's more relaxing, I'll tell you that. It's interesting to watch the candidates unfold throughout the city and grow their campaign and present their ideas to the people and what the response is. And it's always an exciting dynamic, not only for the city, but for our democracy here in the country as well.
What do you think the key is to running a successful campaign here in Aurora?
Well, I think there are several keys. One is your ability to be a good listener and the ability to serve, because ultimately elected positions are a position of service. And so you want to offer yourself your ideas, your creativity, your listening skills to present yourself and really listen to what the people of our community is saying, so you can help address their concerns and problems that they're experiencing in their city and in their neighborhoods. So it's really a dynamic between the citizens and the candidate and ultimately who's ever elected, because you're forming a partnership with the election, and that's really important, something that's really sacred in our country.
What's it been like for you to serve the same ward for such a long time? I mean, I would assume that all of those traits that you mentioned have allowed you to serve for such a while in your ward, Ward 6.
Well, it's been really a blessing for me, because I was not only born and raised in Aurora. I was born at the old Copley, but I lived in the west side of Aurora all my life. Actually, I lived in the 6th Ward all my life.
Wow.
Which is very unique. Not too many people could probably say that. But after I went to college and came home and decided I wanted to make Aurora my home. And it's really, it was really an opportunity for me to live my dream, to be involved in the community and help people and help solve problems. So it's been really the joy of one of the many joys of my life.
Let me ask you this, and I know there's a story behind this. What initially got you involved in wanting to serve your community?
Well, my family growing up, invariably when we got together, we would talk about two things when I was small. Either the conversation would go to religion or politics. And I thought both subjects were really unique and very interesting. But when they went to the politics, it was interesting because during that period of time from 1953 to 1961, we had Mayor Egan as head of our city, and he was, to put it lightly, a very controversial person. And it just piqued my interest to say, this is really interesting. I didn't know what they were saying exactly, but I found it as a child just fascinating to listen to my family to speak. I just thought one day, in fact, I think I was in the third grade, somebody was making a point about something, and I thought, I could do that. And I've kind of held that ever since.
What specifically about Mayor Egan got you involved? Or maybe for those who don't know at home, what was Mayor Egan's calling card? What made him so special for you?
Well, I think the specialness was because he was so unique and controversial that it brought up a lot of conversation that I was trying to follow at that age. I'm sure I probably wasn't doing justice at it. But it just kind of piqued something that's inside me, which is being involved in helping people. Like I say, solve problems in the community and working together by making their community that much better.
Is it true that he fired the police chief and appointed, was it a cat or a parrot to become the new police chief?
That is true, and he did appoint a parrot for the police chief, yes. He was very controversial. In fact, he was worldwide fame. In fact, decades later after he was mayor, I was reading a newspaper article, and they were quoting him decades later after he was the mayor. So it's really struck a chord for his, I guess, controversial nature, and it's just unique. But he did get some things done. So
he did get some things done, and I want to make mention that as divisive as the mayoral election is here tonight, I can assure you that neither candidate, to my understanding, wants to appoint a parrot to become the next police chief. So we can all take solace in that here. Alderman Mike Saville joins me here on Election Night in Aurora. We appreciate everybody tuning in on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Aurora Community Television. Alderman, tell us about Ward 6. So you've served for 40-plus years in Ward 6. What was the ward like when you started versus what it looks like today?
Well, I think it's much changed. In some respects, it's the same, but it's changed in terms of being uplifted and improved. In those days, before the July 1983 flood, Aurora was just going about its own business, minding the store of the city in the moment, not realizing that in the future was these great floods. And then to the betterment and the responsiveness of the elected officials, the city started to address those. So I went from 1985 when I was appointed on the city council. We started experiencing flooding issues as the Northeast Side in 1983, and what I noticed is the block that I grew up on, which is North Elmwood, underneath the street is an underground creek called Turkey Creek that they put in a storm sewer in the 1940s. And that was the only good storm sewer system we practically had for the entire 6th Ward at the time.
Wow.
So my first duty as an alderman were to answer phone calls, be it during the day or in the evening or sometimes in the middle of the night, that people were experiencing flooding issues. And I would go to their houses and help what was going on at the time, and allocating the cities. My responsibility was helping allocate the cities and working with the mayor and the alderman resources to solve these problems, which would be correcting, putting in storm sewers, or in some instances decombining them because they were combined storm sewer systems. And that was very frustrating because we knew we were on the right path that Jack Hill and Dave Pierce began. But it was going to take two things, money and time. And we had to prioritize the worst areas first. And that was the hardest thing for me to do, is to say, yes, we hear you, we see you, we know what's going on, we're going to get to your neighborhood, but we have to do this other neighborhood first that's even worse than yours, you know. So I went from not liking the rain when I first became an alderman because of all the phone calls, to now once again enjoying the rain that everybody hears when we have a thunderstorm that's not windy,
right,
or whatever, you know. And people don't have to call me anymore. We solved the issue. Between 1983 and today, the City of Aurora has allocated over $250 million for flood control projects.
Wow.
That's phenomenal. That's a testimony to people voicing their concerns and the elected officials actually doing something about it.
You know, that you bring up a great point there. I mean, you know, a lot of people feel like maybe, oh, someone isn't hearing me or whatever. I mean, it's important for people to voice those concerns to their ward alderman, because they're going to get on that as they can based on resources and time and money.
It is, and that's how we sometimes first hear of a problem, is people contacting the elected officials. And then we bring it to the city council.
That's really, really interesting and really good stuff to see there. Alderman, let's go into downtown for a minute, because we talked about this off camera before. Downtown was nice, obviously, maybe when you were younger, then it went through a period of stagnation, and now it's really growing again. Can you tell me about the evolution of downtown that you've seen in your lifetime here in Aurora?
Yes. When I was born, the downtown was the retail hub of not only Aurora, but for the surrounding areas. Nobody went to any place else because Aurora was the retail mecca and car sales mecca of the region. And then beginning of the Northgate Shopping Center in the late 50s, early 60s, and the development and use of the car, we had businesses now moving out of the downtown and expanding and the like. And then when the Fox Valley Mall opened up in 1975, after the annexation during the McCoy administration of the 1970s for all that region all the way to Route 59, it destroyed the retail hub of the downtown. And when Carson's moved out in 1980, I believe, with the Great Recession that we had then, there was no more retail left. And so the downtown fell on super hard times. And it didn't really begin, the anchor began in 1977 or so when the Paramount was refurbished. That was the beginning of the vision for the new downtown. And then when I became the alderman in 1985, I was noticing what the Fox Valley Park District had planned, which was building the bike trails both north and south of the downtown, which hadn't been built yet. But nobody was talking about connecting the bike trails through the downtown. I thought, we're missing the hardest part. If we don't start now, it may never connect. Let's try to connect it. And because I had spent a year in Europe going to school and traveling around and seeing what these beautiful European cities were doing along their riverfronts, I thought, maybe we could do the same thing. So that's when I proposed an idea that I copied from Naperville, was establishing the Riverwalk Commission. And so I proposed that in August of 87, and we passed it in 88 and started meeting that year, and with the idea of changing our downtown forever, of focusing the Riverwalk, because along our Fox River, which really is our beautiful, most natural resource that we have, and the downtown is the heart and soul of any community, and we should pay attention to it. And the idea was to uplift our standards of development and redevelopment, because there was no thought to any standards, because it was developed hodgepodge over the many decades prior. In fact, I'll tell you an observation. We had 7 different streetlight standards in the downtown alone. That shows there was no thought or no rhyme or reason to our downtown. And because they're in the McCoy administration, they refurbished their Paramount with pavers alongside of it, and then the Water Street Mall and the downtown SSA on the east side, they established the beginnings of the aesthetics that I thought that we could build upon for the Riverwalk Commission, which we did. So we enlarged the Riverwalk concept from just along the river to the heart of the downtown with standards, with the trash receptacles and benches and street light standards, historic street light standards, and urban gardens, if you will, flowers, green space, and make it so once it's developed that people will want to come down and spend some time. We have the fountains, we have the swimming stones. It's been turning out to be a great place for families to come down and just hang out, or even just to walk your dog or go to a restaurant, if you will. And so we spent time establishing these standards and getting them adopted, the 1993 Fox Walk District, which is what we call it, standards. And everything that you see today are the result of those standards and the idea that we had together. And we had great staff in the city. We had great mayor and aldermanic support and great community support and volunteers. And it was really a team effort to do this. Many people had different ideas that were incorporated in this. It just wasn't one person.
I love the story. I want to get to two more questions before we finish up. I know we're a little bit short on time, and we have some election results pending that we're going to get to in about 4 minutes, so stay tuned if you're watching at home. Alderman, you have served on the council for 40-plus years, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I at least want to ask you, who's one of your favorite mayors that you've gotten to serve with?
Well, that's really a hard question. You are putting me on the spot. But I could honestly tell you that each mayor, and I've served either as a Planning Commission member with Jack Hill all the way today with Mayor Irvin, that each mayor brought their own unique perspective and improvements to our city that without their leadership and working with the council, which is a partnership, with the ability to give and take and listen, and forming this partnership I explained earlier with the people, it's really been a team effort all the way around. It's just not one person, it's everybody working together. And that's been exciting when you bring a problem to the city council and the alderman and the mayor and the city staff, works with you to try to solve them. That's really satisfying for me, because you're ultimately not only improving the city, but you're helping people, the city that they chose to live and raise a family and work and worship and hopefully shop and come down to the Paramount.
Alderman, last question for you, and appreciate you being here tonight. What was the origin story behind Ukulele Fest?
Well, I grew up playing a little bit guitar and the trombone, which I stopped when I was a teenager. I don't know why. I should have continued with the guitar. But I've always loved music. And I just noticed when I'm online at YouTube that they have all these ukulele festivals worldwide, and they're very popular. It's a unique instrument. It's easy to learn to play. It's only 4 strings, and anybody can play it, so you have people of all ages. And I thought it'd be fun to copy their idea of having a ukulele festival for us here in Aurora, and to invite people of all ages, kids to seniors, to come and listen and attend workshops and perform and be a part of all the fun. I just think it's a great family event for our downtown area, and good for Aurora. It's very positive. Well,
Alderman Mike Saville, thank you so much for joining me. This was a
John.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thanks
Thank
for
you for being
me.
here. Alderman Bill Donnell, who's going to be retiring from Ward 4. He's going to be on with me in about 10 minutes, so stay tuned for that. Let's get to some results that have just come in. We'll cue them up right now.
Okay, thank you.
So let's start with the mayor's race. Currently, here are the results as we speak. Alderman-at-Large John Laesch with 2,547 votes. Current Mayor Richard C. Irvin at 2,250. That puts Alderman Laesch at a 53.1% vote total. And Richard C. Irvin, the mayor, at 46.9%. We'll move forward. For Alderman-at-Large, Keith Larson right now is leading Alderman-at-Large, current Ron Warman. Larson with about 57% of the vote to Warman's 43. Larson with 2,544 votes at this moment, and Warman with 1,920. On to Ward 1, what a contested race, and so far it is current Alderman Daniel Barrero with a lead. He has about 46% of the vote. He has 357 votes in total. Right behind him is Hugo Saltagero with 169, Ray Hall with 140, and Bishop Jeffrey D. Donaldson with 114. So currently it's Barrero in the lead for Ward 1. He has 357 total votes and about 46% of that vote capture. On to Ward 2. This one's close so far. A long way to go, of course, as well. Alderwoman Wani Garza in the lead, 222 votes to 143 for the challenger Alfonso Santoyo. So currently Garza has 61% of the vote to Santoyo's 39, but again, still early. Lower vote totals in Ward 2 so far. Garza with 222, Santoyo with 143. On to Ward 4, the two newcomers. Jonathan Nunez is leading right now and overwhelmingly by over 200 votes, at least at this point. Nunez with 462 total votes, 63.81% of the vote. Jeffrey Hansford, the popular Bardwell Elementary School teacher, he's behind. He's at 262, and he has about 36% of the vote. So 462 for Nunez, 262 for Hansford so far in Ward 4. On to Ward 7. So far in Ward 7, it is the incumbent, Alderman Brandon C. Tolliver, with 153 votes. Javier Banuelos, his challenger, at 87. Tolliver right now with 63.75% of the vote, so almost 64% of the vote. Banuelos with 36. But again, ways to go in Ward 7. We'll see how things play out over there. We look to Ward 9. Nothing yet in Ward 9 as it pertains to DuPage, Kendall, and Will counties for Alderman Bugg, but with no challenger, we would assume that he is going to win tonight at some point. On to Ward 10. Still nothing yet for Alderwoman Schwedebate as well. She is at a 0. Still waiting on results to come in from DuPage County over there. So those are the vote totals as we stand here today. And at this point, we are going to get ready now for, well, first of all, let's check in first. Let's do our first check-ins of the evening. We're going to check in at Mayor Irvin's camp and Alderman Laesch's camp. Let's take a look and see who we're going to see first. Well, we'll start with Mayor Irvin's camp. Samantha Loveland, who's here with the city's communications team, she is in the field at Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp. Let's check in with Sam first, and then we'll go to Danielle Tufano, who's hanging out at Alderman-at-Large, John Laesch's camp. We'll start with Sam Loveland over at Mayor Irvin's camp. Sam, great to see you. How's it going over there?
Hello, checking in. Hello. I'm Sam Loveland, Communications Coordinator with the City of Aurora, and I'm here at Mayor Richard C. Irvin's base camp, and I am joined by
Rachel Cole, current senior and communication major at Aurora University.
All right, so Rachel is here on Team COA for the night, shadowing our communications and marketing team as we cover Mayor Richard C. Irvin's base camp. So we have several major races going on in the City of Aurora tonight. We have Aldermanic races, Alderman-at-Large, and then of course the mayoral candidate election. So we're at base camp right now. The purpose of a candidate's base camp is to provide an opportunity for friends, family, and supporters of a candidate to come together and celebrate a campaign, a long campaign, canvassing, to celebrate together, to watch election results as they come in live, and to watch a candidate deliver a victory or a concession speech. So we're here tonight. You'll be checking in with us all night. We'll be getting a feel of the room. You can hear the energy is already rocking in the room tonight. So Rachel, you are from Aurora University. You're a communications student. You have a background in journalism. Tell us a little bit about what you're involved in at AU.
Oh my God, I am involved in so much. I have gotten the opportunity to do so many multimedia courses, visual communication, digital photography, so many really cool, creative and quirky courses, just to kind of build my portfolio and really get to learn what I want to do. And I really love to be behind the camera. I love journalism, and I think it's a great opportunity to just kind of expand on that. I have such great teachers at AU, so I really have gotten to expand on my knowledge throughout the last 4 years.
We love our partnership with Aurora University. They always turn out such amazing students. So we're really excited to have Rachel with us tonight. You'll be seeing both of our faces as you pop in here throughout the night, and we're so glad that you're joining us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll kick it back to John in the studio.
Thank you so much, Sam. We're going to check in now with Danielle Tufano, who's live right now at Alderman-at-Large and current candidate for mayor, John Laesch's camp.
I'll tell you what, we're having a rip-roaring time here at the Laesch campaign party at the Roundhouse. I'm joined actually with Amy. She's an Aurora University student, and you're learning a lot, because I'll tell you what, the party hasn't even started yet. So, what have you campaign party?
I'm learning a lot about behind the scenes, and as a recent intern with NBC News, I'm getting a behind the scenes experience with the community I grew up in and a community I love, so I'm so excited to see how the night goes.
NBC News, you could probably teach me a couple of things here. We're really excited for a fun night. We're going to be learning a lot. We're going to be here all night giving you the coverage of the fun and exciting things happening here at the Laesch campaign party at the Roundhouse. There's going to be free rounds of drinks, so if you come here and party with the Laesch campaign, I hear a rumor that the first round of drinks is on his campaign. So come on out, have a great time. And we want everybody to come and have a wonderful time and see the results as they come in. What does it mean to you to be a part of Aurora making history tonight here, Amy?
Well, growing up here, I'm very proud of growing up in this community. I'm very excited to be here and just to hear about how the night's going to go for a lot of people. And yeah.
All right. Well, we can't wait for an exciting night ahead of us. Back to you, John, in the studio.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle and Sam. We'll be checking in with both of them throughout the night. So if you're wondering what's going on at Mayor Irvin's camp and Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp, please keep it here. We're going to have, obviously, live reports in addition to more guests, more interviews, more vote totals. Again, this is the place you want to be if you're really excited about election night here in Aurora. Just as a reminder, my name is John Giles. I'm our communications manager here at the city. The City of Aurora's Communications and Marketing Department is providing tonight's live broadcast as a service to all of you. This is your one-stop shop to find all the vote totals and to learn more about each candidate that you see on your ballot. We're live right now on YouTube, ACTV, Channel 10 Xfinity, Channel 99 AT&T Uverse. We're also live on Twitch and, of course, Facebook. And, yes, comments are enabled. Let us know what you think about tonight's election results. Pop them in the chats, and we'll try to get to those as time permits here tonight. On to our second guest here tonight. We started off swinging, and we're going to swing once more. Alderman Mike Saville joined us earlier, and we have our current Fourth Ward Alderman. He is also a 27-year veteran of the Fox Valley Park District. Tonight, he's here to join us to reflect on his tenure and look forward to what's next. Alderman Bill Donnell is here with me. Alderman, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, John.
Well, let's clear the air first, get the elephant out of the room. What made you choose to retire from public office after a great 12-year career?
Well, it was 12 years with the City Council, but it was 27 years prior to that with Plan Commission, and that's a lot of late nights. So, but it's time to focus on family, focus on a little travel, and we got a couple of grandkids we like, and so we're going to take a step back.
What have you learned in serving on the City Council for 12 years?
Well, and Alderman Saville said it first, but you learn to listen. Listening is very important, and trying to do what you can for folks. I think probably the most important thing that Alderman does is help people navigate the city and try to find the resources that you can help them. In fact, a little story: when I was first elected, I got a phone call from a woman who lived not too far from me, and she was very upset, and she said, "I'm in pain. I need some medicine." And I said, "Well, can I pick something up for you?" She goes, "I don't have a prescription." And so I really was at a loss of what I could do for her until I remembered the VNA, and I called the VNA, and they helped her out. And 2 weeks later, she called me and thanked me. So,
wow.
So you got to listen, but when you can help, that's when it's all worthwhile.
Let me ask you this. What initially got you involved? You've been on the Plan Commission for a while, then you ran for alderman, and you've won, and you've served 3 terms. What got you involved in that side of things here in Aurora?
Well, as you said earlier, I worked for the Park District for 27 years, and the last 15 of those years, I was superintendent of parks. And so I was the guy that people would call when they wanted something taken care of. and I grew to enjoy that. You know, when you can help people, that's an important thing. So, but I retired from the Park District, and after 2 years in the private sector, I kind of realized I missed that opportunity to interface with the public, and we had an open seat. And my friend at the time, Whitey Peters, Alderman Whitey Peters, who's gone now, but I have fond memories of, it kind of guided me in this direction.
How do you feel about the state of the Fourth Ward from when you took office to now today as you leave office?
Well, I'm very happy with where the Fourth Ward is at. The Fourth Ward, when people ask, what is the Fourth Ward? You start at West High is the Fourth Ward, Aurora University is Fourth Ward, and the old Copley Hospital and Bardwell School is the Fourth Ward. My ward, except for a little bit in downtown, is the only ward that crosses the river. And that some people might think that's a challenge. I think that's great. But when we first started, the Copley Hospital had been vacant for 25 years and really was kind of an anchor around that neighborhood to kind of drug things down. And so that was a problem. Another problem that we had was over at AU neighborhood. We had a lot of overcrowding. We had a lot of problems with cars. We love the students, but when you can't get down your street, that's a problem. So we had a neighborhood planning initiative where we looked at things, and imagine that parking and cars were the big problem, and so we passed a boarding house ordinance that kind of helped reduce the density. Aurora University built a parking garage, and I don't get those phone calls like I used to. I think we all know what happened over at the Copley Hospital. A great project that the city got involved in. Some people wanted a park. It would have cost us $12 million to tear that building down and turn it into a park. Instead, we reinvested that in the building, and now we'll probably talk about it later. But it is one of my proudest moments to what we've been able to do there to provide homes with kids with disability, homes for seniors. A VNA is going to go into that facility as well, a home for School District 131, and a fabulous little bakery.
Yeah, it's really an amazing project when you think about it, because as you said, we've heard people around the city say that property was vacant. People were going in there because it was just so beaten down, and look what it's turned into. And obviously it's helped out the ward at large, because now those homes around there and everybody feels more safe. There are more things for people to do now in that area.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the pictures I remember that really just tickled me, someone had dropped off a motorboat in where you would drop off somebody for the emergency room. So we had a motorboat and a trailer left there, and that's what we were dealing with over there, was people dumping on that property. And we're confident that the property values around there have all gone up, and it's just beautiful, and the neighborhood really has benefited from it.
What do you think the future of the Fourth Ward looks like now that you're going to be leaving office?
Well, I'm sure I think you're going to ask me about endorsements, but we got two, I think, really strong candidates running for Fourth Ward, so I think you'll be in good hands there. The one thing that is kind of percolating in the Fourth Ward is what we call kind of the warehouse area, or the southern downtown area, starting at the library, a beautiful library. But we've just converted a building there into residences. We're going to have a brew pub in there. Foreign exchange is going to be in there. Great little thing there. And we're looking at other properties to maybe turn into residential. So I think that's really the future, is Fourth Ward is going to have a little bit more slice of the downtown.
And I think that's exciting for your person who's going to be coming in for you. But at the end of the day, it's really cool to see those older buildings that seem to be out of commission get reused, and then you bring people into the city, and everybody wins at that point.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Alderman Bill Donnell, current Fourth Ward Alderman, joining me here now. Alderman, I'm going to ask you, because I'm obligated to ask, there are going to be two candidates running to replace you. Do you have any endorsements, or at least any leanings one way or the other right now?
You know, I met with both of the gentlemen, went down to the French 70, not French, that's the bar, Society 57.
Yes,
Society 57, had coffee with both those gentlemen. I got a real good feeling for both of them, and so I told them and promised, I said, I'm not going to really make endorsements. You guys run a good race, and I think the Fourth Ward will be fine with either one of them.
Let me shift over a little bit to your parks background for a bit, because obviously with the Fox Valley Park District and also what you've done as a ward alderman and serving on the Planning Commission, this is something that's very near and dear to you. How important are public parks to the city of Aurora, or just to a city in general? It feels like they're overlooked at times, but they're certainly important, right?
I think they're very important. And, the Park District had a plan, a master plan, which actually I worked on, updated at one point in time, and which you're supposed to have a neighborhood park within a half mile of every residence. And to be able to have those facilities, playgrounds, and now I got grandkids, so I look at the playgrounds again, pathways, open space where you can get out and get, little exercise, I think is very important. And in fact, we did some studies back in the day. We asked people what was important. Neighborhood park came up number one. We have wonderful facilities like community centers and sports complexes, but the neighborhood park came up number one.
It's really interesting. How do they impact, would you say, like public safety or quality of life, having those parks or having, like you said, a plan where within a half mile of walking distance there's a park there? Yeah,
I think it's important to, a lot of people talk about things for youth to do, and I think it's important to have those facilities, have those, virtually every neighborhood park has a little informal ball diamond where you can play a little pitch and catch or play a little soccer on that, and I think it's important to have those opportunities, especially for young people, to get out there and burn off some steam.
So you were the superintendent of parks over at the Fox Valley Park District. What goes into the maintenance of these sorts of parks?
Well, I tell you what, at the time, I think we had 2,400 acres.
Wow.
In the Fox Valley Park District. I'm sure there's more now. We had a fleet of mowers. We had to take care of a lot of restrooms, the swimming pools, everything. But I think the most important thing is, and I always felt we had this, was the staff that cared. I told a story earlier today. I had one staff member, supervisor, out in the DuPage area, and there's a big, beautiful park, and I went out there to check on his work, and he'd actually striped it like a baseball field. He didn't have to. He could have just gone around in circles like we do in home, but he had gone back and forth, and it was beautiful, and I knew they care. So it's really important to have employees that care, and there's a lot of them at the Park District that do.
And in that case, too, in your role, I assume you were getting probably calls even after work hours, right, to probably take care of something or maintain something. How did that sort of work? Just curious.
Well, it worked good. It's been a number of years ago. It was 15 years ago since I retired from the Park District, and there was a time when we didn't have cell phones, but we did have pagers. So that's how that's worked. But again, I had a great staff, and one example is snowfall. I did not have to go tell people, oh, you're going to have to plow snow tonight. They knew it. And so, I would keep track of that and make sure that they had all the resources they needed. But those guys really knew how to take care of things.
A big project coming up here in Aurora is going to be the restoration of Garfield Park, making it better through the OSLAD grant. How do you think those improvements are going to positively impact the city?
Well, there's always a lot of excitement about a new playground. And again, I said I have grandkids. We used to go to all the playgrounds. Garfield, I've looked at the plans. It's really going to be cool. We have some special events going on there as well. I know they play a little soccer over there. They have some beautiful ball fields. So I think it's going to be a real asset to the neighborhood. And again, when you make an investment in, folks just use them even more.
Do you have maybe a favorite park that you like to frequent here within Aurora?
Well, you asked me that ahead of time, so I gave it some thought. And, there's two different things because I developed many parks and many trails. And so I have some favorites, some things I worked on. But I'll have to say two. I'm going to take two. I'm not going to have one, two. Lincoln Park was a park that we got from the city, the Park District. I got my Park District hat on now. Back, I think, in about 1987. And there was a high expectation now the Park District's going to do something about it. So we didn't have a lot of money back then, and so we had to scrape, and we got some grants. The city helped us with some sidewalk money, and we built the first loop path system in the Fox Valley Park District. And there were those that questioned me, why would we want to do a loop system? We're in the business of doing these long distance trails, interconnected trails, which are wonderful and a great draw. But we did put the half-mile loop system in Lincoln Park, and I watched kids learn to ride bikes there. I learned kids watch them roller skate. They had their little RV cars. So that's one of my favorite parks, and I loved working on that one. But the park I go to most frequently is Jericho Lake. Jericho Lake has really, there's probably, it used to just have a fence around it. It was kind of a scary place, and so we've now got a path around it. We introduced disc golf out there, which brought a lot of positive activity out there. Obviously, the fishing's property, and my dog loves it.
You know, you brought up a really good point, too, and I think even myself, I don't know the full process that goes into it, but what's the planning process in going from, okay, I have an idea from a park or for a park to then let's execute, let's build it, let's put it together? That must be a long process.
Yeah, it can be. It's very rewarding. You know, to tell a little story. Once I thought I wanted to work for the National Park Service.
Okay.
But if you do a plan for the National Park Service, it may be years, if ever, that it ever gets executed. When you work on a local level, like the Fox Valley Park District, and I'm a landscape architect, so I was able to do the design, and then we budgeted it. Oftentimes we get grants, and I think the city's really successful in getting grants to help double the money that we can do for parks. But it all started with a master plan. The Park District has a master plan book that talks about, you know, what the standards should be, and that was always very helpful in guidance.
You know, Alderman, I want to ask you another question here as it pertains to your time on City Council. You're going to be departing. Is there like one moment or one memory that really defines your tenure here with the city? And
this is a tough question. It was with, you know, I told the story earlier about helping the gal that needed help. I had a lot of those moments where you know, people would reach out to me, and then you're successfully able to help them out. A lot of seniors like to talk, and so you got to be, again, a good listener. But it's a lot of fun to talk to folks that have been around for a while. You know, I have to talk about some of my predecessors. I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit. Bob O'Connor and Whitey Peters are both gone now, but were great friends of mine. And you know, I used to go to a finance committee, even though I wasn't on the committee, and I'd always ask Bob O'Connor's permission, and he always graciously gave it to me. But I think I learned more sitting at that meeting, and the conversation that followed was wonderful. And you know, Bob O'Connor and I talked about you know, how democracy works, and he was a real student, and so was Mr. Whitey Peters. So,
was there any specific advice that they imparted on you, maybe when you first became an alderman, that helped you kind of guide your tenure for the 12 years that you were here?
Well, I think it all goes back to listening. I mean, it really does, and being proactive and getting back to people. I always had a rule. I had the 24-hour rule that I'd get back to somebody within 24 hours. Doesn't mean you have a solution or an answer, but you got to let them know that you're working on it.
Yeah, how does that sort of work from your perspective? Like, you know, if you don't have an answer, how do you balance that situation where people are asking you questions, you may not have an answer yet, you're working with city staff? I mean, that's a balancing act in and of itself as a ward alderman to have to do to serve the residents that you're supporting.
Well, you know, what makes it possible for any alderman, and especially me, I'll just talk about me, is that we have wonderful city staff. Department heads that you can call. I had one inspector call me back on a Sunday when he was on vacation. And it's like amazing. So that's the way you get your answers. I always leaned on staff, and yeah, I kind of know what's going on, but it's always good to hear it directly from the guys that are working on it. So I've been blessed to have worked with a great city staff. Ken Sroth is gone now, but Ken was one of them. Tim Forbes, I'm going to shout out Tim Forbes. Anything to do with streets, and there's a lot of questions about streets.
Oh yeah,
he's a great guy, and Jason Bauer helps me out now too.
As we finish up our interview here tonight, kind of want to ask you a final question. Is there a message, or if you have a message, what's your departing message to Ward 4 as they see you kind of ride off into the sunset?
Well, I think it's important for folks to communicate. You know, it doesn't have to be a one-way street. I had a lot of neighborhood meetings, we had postcards, we had a lot of things, but don't be afraid to call your alderman. Some people don't really understand what an alderman does. Well, there's no better way to call him and ask him, you know, if he can help you out. So make sure that it's a two-way street.
That's Ward 4 Alderman Bill Donnell joining us right here on Election Night in Aurora. He's retiring, and Alderman, really appreciate you making the time here tonight. Great insights from both Alderman Mike Saville, who's sitting back there, and Alderman Bill Donnell. A really fun way to open up tonight's broadcast. Alderman, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, well, we have some more numbers that have come in. Let's check in on those right here on Election Night in Aurora. Well, we'll start with the mayor's race. Alderman-at-Large John Laesch still in the lead at this point. He has 53.4% of the vote. Mayor Richard C. Irvin at 46.58. Laesch is on top right now by a little bit over 400 votes, about 440 votes, 3,487. And the current mayor, Richard C. Irvin, has 3,040. So some more updates have come in, and that's where we're at in the mayor's race right now. Laesch with about a 440-vote lead with some time to go, obviously, here tonight. Move forward to Ward 1 now. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Alderman-at-Large. Let's take a look at Alderman-at-Large. Keith Larson, still in the lead at this point. He has 3,509 votes. And then Alderman Ron Warman, Alderman-at-Large, with 2,529. So currently, as it stands here today, we have Larson with 58% of the vote, and Larson with Warman with 42% of the vote. So 58 to 42, Larson on top, and Aurora's Alderman-at-Large race at this point. We'll move forward now. Ward 1. Contested race, and Alderman Barrero still in the lead, the current appointed and sitting alderman. He has 368 votes. Hugo Saltageral in second place with 176. Ray Hall in third with 148. And Bishop Jeffrey Donaldson with 124. So as it stands here, Barrero with 45% of the vote, and he leads this four-person race in Ward 1. Back in Ward 2 we go. Alderwoman Wani Garza, the longtime incumbent, still in the lead over Alfonso Santoyo, the challenger. Garza with about 61% of the vote. Santoyo about 39%. Still waiting for more results to come in on that front. That is coming from the Kane County Clerk's office there. On to Ward 4. Jonathan Nunez still in the lead at this point, 462 to 262. Over a longtime Bardwell Elementary School teacher, Jeffrey Hansford. At this point, we have Nunez at 63.8% and Hansford at 36.2%. We'll see how this race continues to develop here tonight. On to Ward 7, some updates here. Brandon Tolliver, Alderman Tolliver, still in the lead at this point, and he's gained some more votes. He has 225 in total, and Banuelos has 166, Javier Banuelos. So Tolliver right now at 57.5% of the vote, and Banuelos at 42.46% of the vote. That's in Ward 7, so some updates coming through, and we'll see if more come in the next time we check in. On to Ward 9, some updates here finally for Alderman Edward Bugg. He is at 514 votes. Nobody is running against him, so at this point he is likely going to win the election, of course. But he's at 514 so far, capturing 100% of that ward's total. And then finally, on to Ward 10, some more votes and some new numbers here for Alderwoman Shweta Bade. She is looking to serve her second term, her second four-year term. She's at 343 votes right now, capturing 100% of that vote in Ward 10. So that's where we stand here today for all the races in Aurora. Now at this moment, we'll check back in with our field reporters, Danielle Tufano at Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp, and Sam Loveland over at Mayor Richard C.
Okay, we are having lots of fun here at the Roundhouse. We are at the Laesch campaign party, and I'm joined right now with the State Senator of the 25th District, Karina Villa. Thank you so much for joining us, by the way. What an exciting night.
It's such a great night to be here in Aurora with everyone.
There's a couple things that I want to kind of chat with you about. What inspired you to come out and support Alderman Laesch tonight?
So as a state senator, I have an open door policy in my office. Folks come in from all walks of life to talk to me about some of the issues that they're facing. John has really been instrumental as Alderman-at-Large to bring really difficult and complicated cases to me. He has the same kind of policy of having this open door policy where folks can come and talk to him, and he's always looking for ways to help those in the community who are most in need, and that's why I'm here to celebrate with him and his team for all the hard work that they've been doing.
What has been your favorite part of this campaign in general?
So I was actually a school social worker for 15 years prior to running for office, and let me tell you, I never thought I would. I never thought I was going to run for office. I didn't think there was a place in politics for someone like me. And John is kind of the same kind of person. Watching the groundswell movement, everyday people who might not even have ever voted before, come out and say, we stand with you, John. We're going to knock on doors for you. We're going to go vote for you. That's so inspiring, and that's why I decided to come out for John tonight.
And before we wrap up, what would you say to young people to encourage them to get involved in local elections?
Every single election matters. One of the elections that I think is most critical to watch is your local school board. You're a student. You're wanting to make sure that your voice is represented. Make sure to pay attention to the school board races. I was actually an elected official at the school level prior to running for higher office. So these local offices really make a difference in your day-to-day lives. So come out, meet people that you think are like-minded to you, that stand for the same kinds of issues that you stand for, and then go out and volunteer for their campaigns. And one day, you should also run for office.
State Senator Karina Biot, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Danielle, great live report right there from Alderman-at-Large, John Laesch's camp. Before we introduce our guests, let's go check in at Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp with our reporter, Sam Loveland. So we'll be on right after this report.
Okay.
Cool.
Asking us those 4 questions, right?
I'm here with John Giles. John, can you tell me how long you lived in Aurora?
I am now, that's great. We moved back to Aurora at the age of 14. So to tell my age now, just having a 60th birthday, so we're up there. So I've been lived in Aurora all that time. So.
Okay, so you have a long history with the city. You have a history in law enforcement. Can you tell me about your past role in the city?
Yeah, I was a police officer here in Aurora for 27 years. Fulfilling job, great career. It's about, when your service to your city, it meant that much more being a police officer in the town that you were raised in, basically. So you have familiarity with the city, and then also with the people that lived in it, and having those connections there.
Absolutely. And, we always like to see people coming out and supporting a cause that's meaningful to them. And you're here tonight, John. So can you tell me, why is it important to involve yourself in a local election like this?
Well, it's important that, you want your voice to be heard. So the only way to have that heard is through your vote. And if you don't vote and you don't have a right to then complain or about things that go wrong, if you don't have your voice heard, you must vote. And people should realize it's a great privilege to have that vote. And a lot of people that don't come out and vote because they think, nothing's going to change or affect me. It's the wrong attitude to have.
Now, we love our students here in Aurora, and a little birdie told me you work with some of our students in Aurora. Can you tell me more about that?
Oh, yeah. I'm coaching over at West Aurora High School, where I graduated from. Again, it's giving back into the community. I was fortunate enough to be able to play basketball at West Aurora. Now I'm able to coach at West Aurora. Enjoy it tremendously. Keeps me young, working around with the kids, but also when we're coaching also, it's just not about basketball, it's about life lessons, being able to, let the kids know what's ahead of them and why it's important, not only, with their schoolwork and what they need to have to prepare in life.
Now, can you tell me what excites you about the city of Aurora?
What's nice is seeing the growth, that it's like from just knowing when I came back up here at the age of 14, and you see how some of the communities and everything, I still remember what are now 4-lane roads, where used to be just 2-lane roads. Where I live and everything else never used to be there. It was a field, it was a cornfield. And then when I worked in the city every day, you just saw all the development and the growth, and it's a compliment to the people in charge, having that vision to make Aurora a city where you want to raise your kids and live in.
Well, John, thank you so much for your perspective. We really appreciate you getting involved in your community. We appreciate you getting involved with our youth. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Tell us one more time, why are Aurora students the best students?
Now, are we saying east side or west side?
Oh, that's contentious.
No, like I said, and what about the students in Aurora? And if you notice how the community is, it is such a diverse community, you know, and you got all nationalities, you know, different creeds, religion, everything else. But it's such a diverse community, and you get to know, everyone gets to know about every different things there and things that they might not know about one another.
Absolutely. We love our Aurora students. Thank you, John, so much. We'll catch you back to the studio. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a little bit here at Richard Irvin's base camp.
That's our field reporter Sam Loveland from Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp. In case you don't know what's going on here, you're just tuning in. This is Election Night in Aurora, being put on by the City of Aurora's Communications and Marketing Department. My name's John Giles. I'm our communications manager. Remember, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Aurora Community Television, Channel 10, Xfinity, Channel 99, AT&T Uverse. Comments are enabled, so we look forward to seeing your comments. We'll try to get to them as time permits here tonight. What a perfect segue. We talk about students in Aurora. We talk about loving our students in Aurora and all the good things that they do here today. And I have two students in Aurora here with me on Election Night in Aurora. We have Audrey Esquivel, who's the president of Aurora University's Student Association, and Ashley Hatcher, Waubonsee Community College's student trustee. They join me live in studio right now. Ladies, it is great to see both of you, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us here.
So let's talk about this. We'll go macro and then go to micro. We'll go to the big level and go to the more specific level. From the outside looking in, because you guys are college students here in Aurora, what does this election process look like to you? I'll start with you.
I think this is a great opportunity to get our local community together, to get their voices out, to see change. And I think this is also a great opportunity for people to have a voice in what they want to see change in our community, and see what happens in our future generations.
I absolutely agree to that. I mean, it is exciting. I mean, from the little bits I was seeing on TV, it's lively. It's a great way for the community to come together and actually express their viewpoints as a community together and things they care about. So it's absolutely exciting.
You know, something we hear about a lot in national elections, and we're seeing it here in the local elections too, is engaging the youth. Nobody can get that secret sauce to engage the youth, get them to come out and vote, get them to be a part of the democratic process. From your guys' perspective, how do we engage the youth here in Aurora to get them to come out and vote and be involved in our democratic process?
Absolutely. I believe the best way we can get the youth involved into voting is honestly just meeting them where they're at, whether that is within their social media platforms, within, you know, actually coming and talking to them on campuses. Just meet them where they're at and ask them to vote. I mean, I think that's the best way.
I think she shared a great point. What I think youth struggle with nowadays is just having a voice in general. Sometimes youth struggle with, oh, I'm just so young, oh, I'm just not educated enough. But I believe that we're a generation where we get to grow as people, and we're a very advocate, big generation, you know, where we get to advocate and be a voice for other people and for our future generations. So what I would say to the youth is use your voice. It's one of the strongest things that a human being has. Advocate for yourself, advocate for your community. This is where you get to get your voice out, what you want to see in your education, what you want to see in your healthcare, etc. So use that voice of yours and be confident to who you're speaking to.
What do you guys think we can all do together, both from a city perspective and maybe from a student body perspective, to really get more youth to come out and vote here in Aurora? Is there something specific that you guys might have in mind, or tips and tricks that maybe city people can learn about how to get more youth out and about?
I would say support your generation. I would say a lot of students here are involved in a lot of things such as politics, sports, and healthcare and their future. I would just say go to those forums, have those difficult conversations even if the person you're talking to you don't necessarily agree with. Just engage in those conversations, join those discussions, join support groups, and just engage with your community. See what they need, see what the people need, and just be that voice for them and continue advocating.
Absolutely. Adding on to what Audrey's saying is, just ask them what they're interested in and tell them how it connects back to what they're interested in. That applies to anyone, but especially students.
Let me ask you about this, because you go to Waubonsie, you go to AU, right? So how do you each contribute to civic engagement at your respective school? And I'll start with you.
Yeah. So at Aurora University, what I do as president of the Aurora University Student Association is I engage with the faculty, staff, and the students. We do that through processes of the Faculty Senate, as well as the Board of Trustees meetings and also different committee meetings. And what I would say for civic engagement, we get students to vote. We show up in big buildings that we have around the city and around our school and our campus, and we just say, have you registered to vote? Because I would say as an American, this is one of the biggest rights that you have and should use to vote and to see change in your future. And I would say just voter registrations, have those open discussions in your classrooms, like what is the issue and what can we do to talk about it in a respectful manner? Because I think having these discussions, even if you don't necessarily agree with people, is so important.
Absolutely. As student trustee at Waubonsie, it is essentially I represent the student body to the board, and so it's letting them know about the issues that we're kind of facing and we're kind of thinking about addressing through our student government, and then kind of receiving that feedback, and then letting the higher parts of Waubonsie know about that and advocating for it there, and then also with elections going on, whether it's the mayoral or the current elections going on for student senate and the student trustee elections, it is just letting them know, hey, why this is important to them and why they should be voting for it.
That's a really good point, because when you're on college campuses, and I remember when I was in college too, there was a lot of talk about who the student president would be, who the trustees would be, et cetera, et cetera. So why is that important to college students on your respective campuses?
I think this is just a great way for people to, again, just get their voices out. What do you want to see in your education system? What do you want to see in your future? Especially if we want to have kids one day or just see our future generations, how would our education be impacted? And what do you want to see as students? How can our education system be improved?
Right. Adding on to that, I couldn't have said it better. It's there's things that if you care about it, showing up and voting and showing your voice in the elections and the people that you vote for, there's not a better way to say that. There's not a better way to show up and use your voice, which is super important. So things like, I know on Student Senate we have a mom in there who brings her child to our Student Senate meetings, and the child care is super important. I'm sure something that'll be addressed next. So, talking about things like that to the incoming student trustee, it's super important.
How receptive have your respective boards been, right? So when you guys come to them as a student rep and then you go to the boards and you kind of express what's going on, have they been generally receptive and been helpful in what you guys have tried to accomplish?
Yes, I think our university does a great job at just listening to student needs and what we need as a campus. What I think Aurora University does a really great job at, and I would give great kudos and recognition to Dr. Turner and Dr. Rivera Mills, our president of AU. I would just say they care about students a lot over there, and they listen to a lot of students' need. So I would just give kudos and recognition to how much Aurora University puts into their students through resources, through mentorships, and et cetera.
I definitely agree to that, especially with Waubonsie. We are blessed to have the board that we have. They are extremely receptive. They're always thinking about what is best for the students. It's really, we have a really great board. They're super receptive, especially over the strategic planning process that we just had. We were able to, from the campaigning, I was able to gain a lot of insights into kind of what the temperature check, if you will, is on the student population. And I was able to talk about that at the strategic planning sessions that we had with our community partners. And so they were really receptive to that, and they took notes on that. And we definitely saw a little bit of that starting to get implemented for their next 5-year process, their RISE 2030.
Yeah, can you talk about the strategic planning for a minute? What does that sort of entail, and then how are you guys involved in that process?
Absolutely. So the strategic planning process is a process that Waubonsee went through over this last year. And so they reached out to their various community partners. That includes various partners like their legislative partners. So like, the different mayors that their mayor legislation that they are involved with in the local aspect. And then also the state aspect, everybody even down in Springfield, we were reaching out to them. And then also our education partners. Then nonprofits. And then there was also, they were reaching out to the employees of Waubonsee as well as the students themselves. So there was a survey that was actually sent out to the students, and we were able to kind of give our feedback, give our insights. I was able to also tell them what I've heard personally from the students. And so that kind of helped shape what the acronym RISE stands for, as well as much of the mission that they are going to be looking to accomplish over the next 5 years.
And then Audrey, from your perspective, I don't know if AU's done something like that yet, or if you've been there when that's occurred, but do you have any insight into maybe AU's strategic planning process and how your body has been involved in that?
Yes, just like Miss Ashley has mentioned, AU has been working on a strategic plan as well by the Board of Trustees and also by Dr. Rivera-Mills, and the President's Cabinet has been working very hard to implement new values that fall into what AU is. And I feel like AU fully embodies their strategic plan and their message, your future, our promise.
I love that. Audrey Esquivel and Ashley Hatcher joined me here on Election Night in Aurora. Great to see both of you guys here. Let me ask you about this, because you're very sharp individuals. Obviously, you're still in college. There's a lot and a long way to go. Any future aspirations in politics? Could we be talking about a ward alderwoman here? Do we have a future ward alderwoman here sitting next to me? I mean, what are your future aspirations here?
I don't know yet. We'll have to see. I've definitely explored the idea, and I find everything about the process super exciting. I mean, it's very exhilarating to be a part of it. Going through when I had my campaign as a student trustee, it was awesome. But I don't know. We'll have to see what the future holds.
Okay.
When I grow up and when I graduate university, I go to Aurora University as a nursing major. I hope to graduate with my bachelor's. I chose nursing because of not only the flexibility but the rewarding care that you give to patients. I hope to become a nurse practitioner, hopefully specializing in pediatric oncology. That is something that I truly support and have true love for. As it relates to politics, I would say as a nurse, it is your job to advocate for your patients and for whoever you're taking care of, as a healthcare worker in general. Here are some questions that might come up in the future as it relates to politics. Is my patient able to afford healthcare? Is my patient able to afford insurance? How will politics affect the future of healthcare, and how will it affect the care that I give to my patient?
I would even assume, too, when you go down that route from a communication perspective, learning how to communicate with other people through politics, bedside manner, learning how to, help patients when they may not be able to help themselves, things of that nature, you're going to learn through what you're doing today, right?
Yes.
Very interesting. That's awesome. Super cool. So let me ask you about this. Now, you're both on the outside looking in. What have you learned here tonight about local elections and maybe City of Aurora politics?
I think it is a very intense process. I know we're kind of seeing some of the numbers on up here on the slideshow and whatnot. It looks like some of these numbers are very, very close, and I'm sure it's a very intense process, but I'm sure it's also at the same time super exciting. I mean, it's got to be super rewarding for the winning candidate too.
I think that this is also a great time for everybody, again, to use your voice, especially the youth, especially people in school, especially the young ones. I would encourage people to get out there, use your vote. As Americans, this is your right. And I would just say, we'll see change from here, and I wish every candidate good luck.
See, we need more people like you two to really engage the youth because, again, that's a big storyline throughout the nation, let alone the state, local elections, and both of you are really setting the stage for hopefully more youth to get involved in the electoral process. How does that make you feel?
I think this was a really great opportunity, and I just want to inspire other people like us to speak up and also advocate for others, and that one day maybe you'll be in the spot too, speaking on things that you appreciate and love.
Absolutely. I mean, voting is one of the most powerful tools we have. When we use it, we can use our voice and bring power to our voice.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to wrap up here with both of you tonight. Kind of a on-the-spot question. I want to get your guys' take on this. Tell me about one of your favorite memories from serving in student government. What does that look like?
This is a very broad answer for you, but it's the relationships and the connections that you make. You meet people from faculty senate, you meet people from board of trustees. These are your people in your community that will help guide people in your future generations and also students in your community. This is how you can learn how to support also Aurora and your community and the future students. And I think this was just such a great opportunity to meet other people and just to see what you love doing. I didn't know how to public speak before. I learned how to public speak and also just learn how to advocate for students and just be a voice. I learned how to find my voice in this process, and I think I was just so honored and very lucky to be president.
Absolutely, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, it's really, truly wonderful, the connections that you meet. I mean, there is not one certain circumstance. I mean, from going out to Seattle and engaging and connecting with the board, and then, you know, out in DC, being able to engage in the connections that you make with other student trustees, and then even the student government. I mean, the connections are probably the most meaningful and most rewarding piece of this entire process.
Really amazing stuff, and two very bright young college students here in Aurora, Audrey Esquivel, Ashley Hatcher. Thank you both for joining us here tonight on Election Night in Aurora. It's great to see you both, and we're looking forward to hearing more about you. I don't think this will be the last we hear of both of you. We hope you get more involved in Aurora politics as you guys graduate and go on to your respective career fields. Thank you guys so much for joining me here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This has been an honor.
Well, let's check in with more numbers. We've seen some updates. Let's get to the polls. We're going to start with the mayor's race. Some more vote totals have come in. We've seen a couple of updates here. So we're going to start here. Alderman-at-Large John Laesch has increased his lead a bit. He's now up by approximately 499 votes, 3,710 to Richard C. Irvin's 3,211. So as it stands right now, Alderman-at-Large John Laesch is leading to become Aurora's next mayor. He is at 53.6% of the vote, and current Mayor Richard C. Irvin is at 46.4%. So a long way to go. And as a reminder, as you can see on the bottom of your screen in that white fine print, all of these results here tonight are considered unofficial. These have been sourced from all 4 counties, the clerk's website. So just keep that in mind. These results are considered unofficial, but this is what's been posted on all 4 websites as of 8/21. Move on to Alderman-at-Large here, Keith Larson, with a 1,000 vote lead at this point over current Alderman-at-Large Ron Warman. Larson with 3,572 votes. Warman at 2,570. Larson at 58.16% of the vote, and Warman at 41.84% of the vote. So right now, Larson, the newcomer who's never run for public office before, currently has a lead of 1,002 votes for Alderman-at-Large. On to Ward 1, Alderman Dan Barrero gained 4 more votes since the last time we checked in. He is at 372 votes, about 45% of the pie right now. In second place is Hugo Saltagero with 178. Ray Hall, the former City of Aurora water and sewer superintendent, at 150. And Bishop Jeffrey D. Donaldson, who spent 30-plus years in ministry here in Aurora, is at 127. So Barrero, the incumbent, who was appointed to this role by Mayor Richard C. Irvin, is currently in the lead, and he's leading by a lot right now. He has 372 votes. Move on now to Ward 2, where Alderwoman Wani Garza, the incumbent, trying to get a 5th term in office. She still leads in Ward 2, 222 votes. Her challenger, Alfonso Santoyo, at 143. So it's Garza right now ahead in her ward, looking to serve a 5th term. She's ahead right now, 222 to 143, or about 61% to 39%. On to Ward 4 we go. Jonathan Nunez, the up-and-comer, still on top right now. 463 votes for him, 262 for his opponent, the popular elementary school teacher at Bardwell, Jeffrey S. Hansford. So it's Nunez with 463, Hansford with 262. Nunez has about 64% of the vote. Hansford right around 36% at this hour. On to Ward 7 we go. The incumbent, also appointed by Mayor Richard C. Irvin, Brandon C. Tolliver is at 226 votes. His opponent, Javier Banuelos, is at 166. So Tolliver up 226 to 166, or about 57.65% of the vote for Tolliver and about 42.35% for Banuelos at this hour. So Tolliver, the incumbent, who technically has never run for election, he was appointed to his position and now is running for the first time, looks to be on track at this moment to retain his seat. We'll see how more vote totals come in and what they look like later. On to Ward 9, where Edward J. Bugg, Alderman Bugg, is running unopposed, of course, and now has 602 votes to his name. So Bugg right now capturing all 100% of the vote, and of course, as long as things hold out the way they should, Bugg will be the Ward 9 alderman for 4 more years, which would increase his term to 16 years in total. And then in Ward 10, Alderwoman Schwedebade running for her second term in office. She has faced no opponents throughout. She's running unopposed. She has 343 votes in total. She has captured all 100% of the votes. So again, at this point, assuming everything holds out, everything goes correctly, Alderwoman Schwedebade will continue to be the Ward 10 Alderwoman here in the City of Aurora. So that's where we're at right now at about 8:24. Let's go out to the field and check in with both of our field reporters. We'll start with Danielle Tufano. She is at Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp. And we'll see what she has to say and how things are looking over there as the current alderman and mayoral candidate has a 500-vote lead.
This campaign party, we are upstairs, and it's a lively group out here. And Amy is our little intern here running around. She's from Aurora University. You've been having a great time down there, meeting people, chatting with people, kind of getting a vibe for what's going on here at the Roundhouse tonight at the Laesch campaign party. What are some of the things that you're hearing from people?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to talk to Melissa Flores. She goes to UIC, but she grew up in Aurora. She's excited to see more innovation within the city. She thinks Gen Z representation matters, and every vote, of course, matters. She is proud to be representing that group tonight. Somebody also gave a big shout out to Jalisco Tacos, Auténtico on Lake Street, for being somebody's favorite restaurant within the city. And then we had the chance to talk to a teacher that works in their community. She shared how she's proud to be working as a teacher and working with such a tight community. She would like to see more involvement in schools within families, and she's here in hopes that her students will see this and have the courage to come in the future and speak up about things that should change within our city. So
it's a lively group here at the Laesch campaign party. We're at the Roundhouse, and we're seeing people that are commenting online. Listen here, Winston. Both sides are having a lot of fun. And Andre, give us a little piece, all right? Back to you, John, in the studio.
Yeah, I'm not able to see the comments. I don't have a computer in front of me, so hopefully those are all going well and being good, as we could say. Let's check in with Sam Loveland. She's at Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp. Sam, how's it going over there?
All right, we are back at Mayor Richard C. Irvin's base camp in downtown Aurora. Rachel, how are you holding up?
I'm having a really great time getting to connect with the community. It's been a really cool thing to get to see everybody and get to hear a little bit about why they're all here. It's been such a great opportunity to get to meet some people, so I've been really happy. And it's really cool. I got to meet a little boy, and I got to meet a lot of really amazing people. But going into this election, I'm actually really curious. You told me that there's so many other elections that are going on. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. So we have several elections that John is updating us in the studio. We have, of course, our mayoral election, but we also have several seats on our city council that are open, right? So we have elections by ward, and the benefits of voters getting to vote for their city council alderperson by ward is that they get to vote for the individual that they feel will best serve the neighborhood or the community that they live in, which is really great.
So to kind of backtrack a little bit, what role does the city council have?
That's a great question, and I think a lot of people probably wonder that. So a city council works with the mayor, right? And there's a checks and balances system. So city council gets to review and approve city budgets, pass ordinances and regulations, gets to enforce public safety, tax rates, things like that.
Yeah. No, it's really, really cool. Like, obviously how the community comes all together, and obviously getting to see everybody come forward, seeing like some people who've been in Aurora their entire lives, getting to really see the changes now at the community. It's truly a magical experience, and it's so important that people get involved. And I truly agree. Sorry.
Yeah. So John in the studio, Rachel, was talking to a couple of students, right? Student leaders from Waubonsee Community College and Aurora University. It's so nice to hear from student leaders. I consider you a student leader, Rachel. So tell us a little bit. You've been walking about the room. Tell us about some people you've talked to, including I know you were talking to some high school students earlier that were here.
Yeah, no, I got to meet with two very impressive young men who actually go to high school in the area, and it's very, very cool that they're actually in charge of some clubs that actually are involved in the community throughout the school. And I really got to hear more about like how passionate they are about getting involved with the community and getting involved with the political and the community aspect. And I truly do think that it's very cool that kids who start at a young age are finally being able to show pride in their community and getting to hear a little bit more about them, about what the mayoral election and what Aurora really means to them. And I think it was really, truly great to get to talk to them and pick their brain a little bit.
That's great to hear, and that's what tonight is all about. No matter where you are in the city, even if you're outside of city limits, we want to hear from the people of Aurora. We want to provide information to the people of Aurora. That's what tonight's about. So I'm so glad that you're touring the room and getting to know people that are passionate about showing up for their community. We know that Danielle Tefano is doing the same thing on the other side of town. So we'll kick it back to John in the studio to keep updating us and talking to some amazing guests.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam and Danielle. They're doing a great job out in the field. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Just want to reset the stage for you here. This is Election Night in Aurora 2025. My name's John Zaglul. I'm our communications manager here at the city. The entire communications and marketing department is putting on a show here tonight for all of you, providing you with a service as we provide live updated vote totals from all 4 counties, plus interviews, analysis, and live reports from Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp and Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp. We're also live right now on YouTube, the City of Aurora's Facebook page, Twitch, and Aurora Community Television Channel 10 Xfinity and Channel 99 AT&T. As a reminder, comments are active. They are enabled. So feel free to comment and let us know what you're thinking about tonight's election results. Right around 8:30, perfect time for another guest, and I'm really excited for this one. He is the former deputy mayor here at the City of Aurora, former alderman. He's also a current trustee for the Fox Metro Water Reclamation District Board, and let me get this right, he is for sure the only guest tonight that has a building named after him. A building named after him, the Development Services Center here in the City of Aurora. Former Deputy Mayor Chuck Nelson is here. Chuck, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, John, for having me.
So how are you feeling on this election night? Any familiar feelings for you, obviously as a Fox Metro trustee and formerly as an alderman as well?
Oh, yeah. There's nothing like an election night. And I can go way back to when we were young, watching Chicago elections on TV, and you would never know who the mayor is until the next day, sitting there with my mom and my dad, my brothers, my sister. We were all glued to the TV, and of course that transitioned into local politics here when I ran for alderman in 1995, and I served from 95 until 2005, 93 until 2005.
What's it like for you to be on the sidelines tonight and not running? A sense of relief? Does it feel good?
Well, I'll be honest, it's a relief, that's for sure. There's no question about it. Even on election day, you're out there working. You're going door to door. You're visiting the polling places. You're doing whatever you can do to drum up votes. So it's certainly a lot different on the sidelines, but nevertheless, it's still exciting. Certainly, we have a race for mayor, an alderman-at-large race. I live in the 5th Ward, and we don't have a race right now, but there are school board races, there are park district board races, and things like that. So it's a very exciting night for the City of Aurora.
Any thoughts on what we're seeing so far here tonight? Obviously, vote totals are still early. We're still watching things develop, but any initial thoughts on what we've seen so far?
Well, it looks like John Laesch is off to a lead here, and he's been consistently in the lead. It looks like Mayor Irvin's starting to close it a little bit. That gap is starting to shrink a little bit. But the question is, John, you and I talked off the air, is how many votes are out there, and where are those votes at? There are some wards and precincts that turn out heavy votes, even in a municipal election. So So we'll have to see. And of course, the other question is how much of the vote has been counted so far. So are we at 70%, 80%, or whatever? So, yeah.
You know, let me ask you this, because obviously you've won multiple elections and you're a current Fox Metro trustee. So how have you been able to win so many elections? What's that art? What's that secret sauce that allows you to win and allows you to push forward?
Well, that's a good question. Well, one, just to clarify, when I ran in '93, I did have a race, and it was a very tight race. I squeaked out a win, and then the next 2 elections I ran uncontested. So, but I can tell you that it's running a race it requires certainly a lot of time, a lot of effort. You have to build relationships while you're out there knocking on doors. You have to communicate, and by communicating, I don't mean being a good orator or anything like that, but being a good listener. And once you, if you are fortunate to get elected, going back then and representing your constituency, I heard several times tonight the term advocate, and that is certainly true. Being an advocate for your constituency, for your residents, is of the utmost importance, I think. Being a cheerleader, too, as well. When I ran in, let's see, it would have been, I think, Mayor Stover's first year. That would have been 1997. Mayor Stover created the ward committee structure, which was very exciting. It was something new. The city had not gone down that path before, but basically he left it up to each ward alderman if he wanted to establish a committee that he would have staff work with you. And so we did, and I think that was probably one of the proudest things that I can look back on now as my time as alderman, is that we had a very functional ward committee, and it was a very diverse ward committee. We even took bus rides once a year throughout the ward to find out what the greatest needs of the ward were. And yeah, there are a lot of good things, I think. Being a ward alderman, you really are out there. I mean, you're in the trenches. And so kudos to anyone who served as an alderman or is serving as an alderman or even ran for an alderman's position.
You know, it's something that Alderman Donnell and Alderman Saville said, too, and you brought it up, listening. Being able to listen to your constituents, I would assume that's a big driver for not just winning office, but staying in office and, of course, meeting their needs as they come up.
Absolutely, yeah. Listening is the key to communication. Again, over time you start to establish these relationships, and in some situations you develop friendships too as well. So, but listening is the pinnacle, I think, of communications and being an effective alderman.
What's been the main driver for you to get involved in public service? How did this all start for you?
Well, it's interesting. I can go back to my grade school days at Our Lady of Good Counsel, and I served as our first class president. That would have been in 1972. So it started then, and I served on the student council at East Aurora High School, Tomcats. And after that, I went to school for a while, and then I joined the workforce. And at one of my jobs down at Fox Metro, because I did work there previously before coming to the City of Aurora, I served as our union president. And that's a very challenging position. Anybody knows who's served as an officer in their union, that it certainly can be rewarding, and at the same time it can be challenging. But it did kind of prepare me to run for alderman.
What were the challenges that you had to experience with that position? How'd you overcome them?
As a union president?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. Union president, you know, you're working side by side with your brothers and sisters, and so they may see things a little differently than you do, and so you have to represent in the situation where there may be some sort of a grievance issue or whatever. You represent the employee. You do what you can for the employee, for your union brother and sister. But not everything goes as well as you would like it to go. So, but it's just, again, it's having a clear understanding in terms of what you can do as a union officer and how you can work with and help the employee in their job. So that's about it.
Is there a secret to your longevity in public service? I mean, now I know the full resume. You know, class president in third grade, union president, alderman, trustee, deputy mayor. What's the secret to serving for such a long time in those sorts of roles?
Well, I think you have to have you have to have a heart to serve, I think. I remember when the night I won the office for alderman in 1993, I was contacted by the Beacon News, and the reporter asked me, you know, how do you feel? What's the first thing you're going to do? I said, all I want to do is serve. That's all I want to do. And that tends to blossom as you take office. Servicing takes many different roads, many different directions and things like that. So anyway, yeah, I think that's it.
Former Deputy Mayor and current Fox Metro trustee Chuck Nelson joins us here on election night in Aurora. Chuck, let's talk Fox Metro for a minute.
Yeah.
Any new developments during your time as trustee?
Yeah, there have been a lot of developments. We have a district manager down there who's very aggressive. Karen Clementi is her name. I've been on the board now for the last 2 years. I represent District 5. District 5 takes in a good portion of the west side of Aurora, all of North Aurora, and all of Sugar Grove. So there are approximately 55,000 residents in each district, and there are 5 districts that make up the boundaries of the sanitary district. So, but a couple of good things that have been happening. One, and this is something that happened under the previous administration, that is their commitment to the environment and to renewable energy. We currently have 2 solar fields that are online down there right now. The one solar field, the big one, that went online I think about 2 years ago, is generating about 2 megawatts of electricity, which is a lot of electricity. And that comes up to a savings of about $170,000. The other one just went online, and we're putting another one online here too as well. So certainly a commitment to solar energy. The other issue, and this is somewhat new, and this is renewable natural gas called RNG. And what it does is when wastewater is treated, the water is treated separately and the solids are treated separately. Well, a byproduct of treating solids is methane gas. And so methane gas is certainly not good for the environment if it's discharged up into the atmosphere. So our district manager has come up with a plan to kind of trap the gas, treat the gas, and then sell the gas back to NICOR. And so this is a win-win situation, because not only are we cutting down our carbon footprint with the capturing the gas, but we're also generating revenue then for the district as well. Revenue will come in the form of savings. We are tremendous users of natural gas just throughout the treatment process, so this will cut our gas prices significantly.
And for those who don't know, maybe, or don't have a specific idea of how that works, what does Fox Metro do as it pertains to Aurora?
Yeah, Fox Metro basically treats all wastewater. Wastewater is generated through the home, through bathing, through a toilet, through laundry, through dishwashers, just washing dishes, etc. It's also comes by way of manufacturing facilities, industrial facilities, and things like that. So there's a process of treating, and it's a biological process as well. So there are very few chemicals that are actually used in the treatment of wastewater. The water is basically cleaned, disinfected, and then put into the Fox River, and the sludge, the waste becomes we call it biosolids, and biosolids are then taken to farm fields and used as fertilizer. So it's a very good reuse, repurposing of what we have.
And I would say that wastewater treatment is very important to all of our water supplies. It's something that we shouldn't be taking for granted.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Especially our effluent is dumped into the Fox River. We, as Aurora citizens, get our water from the Fox River. Now, we're downstream, but all the other water reclamation districts upstream certainly adhere to these standards too as well. So it's very, very important, not only for drinking water, but also for habitat in the river, keeping the aquatic life going and things like that.
So what prompted you to run for Fox Metro trustee after, of course, a great tenure here in Aurora and beyond.
Yeah, that's interesting too. After I retired December 31st, 2020, and so I got involved in some things. I currently serve on the Hesed House board. I also help out. I'm a member, a vice president of the Diabetes Club of Fox Valley. So there were just some things there that were occupying my time. Of course, I have grandkids. My lovely wife, my two daughters, all live in Aurora, all live in the 5th Ward. So we're very, very close to each other, not only physically, but we're close as a family too as well. So, there are things, I think, in terms of, I had some downtime going on, and there was an opening on the board, and I worked there for 16 years, I don't know if I mentioned how long I worked there, but I was there for 16 years, and there were some employees who were there at the time who contacted me. They reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in running. And so I discussed it with my wife, and we decided to go for it. So, and they were very helpful along the way too. I had some good support from not only people that I worked with, but also some friends too.
Let's go back to your time at City Hall for a minute. Talk about your time here in Aurora. What are some of your fondest memories from serving here in City Hall?
Oh gosh, I have so many memories. I think I heard Mike Saville talking earlier tonight about serving under the mayors. I had the opportunity to serve under Mayor Pierce, Mayor Stover, Mayor Weisner. I was the Deputy Chief of Staff under Mayor Weisner, and under Mayor Irvin, I served as the Deputy Mayor. So there are, I think, just having that opportunity to work with these people, as Mike indicated earlier, all of them brought a different skill set. And all of them were very, very effective as mayors. They did things a little differently, but that's just the way things go. But it really was. It was very exciting. Was there one thing that kind of stood out? I really can't think of anything, any one thing. I think that spending 12 years on the council, and again, as I mentioned, and I can't say enough, is that just working with your constituency, developing those relationships are just very, very important, and they can really make you or break you. I think, and even if you disagree with your constituency, I think as long as they know where you're coming, and as long as you know where they're coming, I think that you can certainly, go from there.
What was the transition like for you to go from serving as a ward alderman to then becoming a deputy chief of staff and the deputy mayor?
Yeah, it was interesting. As somebody said, I went to the dark side when I left the alderman's office and went into the administration. But it was it was an eye-opening experience, I'll tell you that. It was, in fact, I thought about this today. I think it was day 2. Mayor Weisner came into my office and said, you got anything planned for tonight? And I said, I don't think so. I said, I'll call my wife and find out, but I don't think we have anything planned. He goes, well, check for tonight and tomorrow, because we're going to go to Washington tomorrow. And the mayor was summoned to Washington to meet with our elected representatives. And so he said, I think this would be a good experience for you to come as well. So we had the opportunity to meet Senator Obama, which was just a thrill. And this was when Senator Obama was gaining a lot of support, for running for perhaps higher office, which he did. We met with Senator Durbin, Representative Hastert, and Representative Foster. So we made the rounds. Very, very exciting to spend a couple days in Washington. So that was probably one of the most exciting things. And again, I haven't even found out where the bathroom was in the mayor's office yet. And here I am going to Washington. So
let me ask you this, Chuck. You've served so much and for such a long time here in Aurora. What does this city mean to you?
Well, it's my home. Born and raised here. As I indicated, fortunate enough to live very close to my 2 daughters and our 5 grandkids. My wife's a lifelong Auroran too as well. So Aurora's home. And everything that you would attach to home, I think applies here too. We just love it here. My parents were from here. Grandparents were from here too as well, so it's home. We love it. We love the people. We love everything that is comprised of this town. It's just a beautiful town. It's got a river that runs through it. So we're very, very fortunate to call Aurora home, and it's just so great to see all the exciting things happening at Aurora right now. It's phenomenal.
And that's where I wanted to finish today. How excited are you about the future of this city, seeing the trajectory of it, even over the past 8 years, even longer, 20 years, from 2002 today? A lot's happened here. How excited are you for the future?
Well, I'm very excited. Very, very excited. Aurora is, I think, with the Paramount, the art community. When I remember the arts community just starting to get going here, I viewed it as kind of an underground movement. But no, they're visible, and they're really pulling a lot of weight now in the community. So I think the town can just build itself along the arts, the entertainment. We're starting to get more employers coming into town, which is good. I know the mayor's been working on establishing a tax base, building that tax base. It was interesting when Mayor Weisner was in town. When he was mayor, 2008, we went through the Great Recession. The mayor was fortunate enough there were a lot of dollars coming through either through federal or state grants. The mayor was able to capitalize on that. He was able to leverage dollar for dollar, sometimes a dollar for $2, to get a lot of the underground work done. And underground by means of sewers. The sewers were in disrepair and undersized. So now we have an adequate sewer system in the downtown, which has allowed for the development to take place in the downtown right now. So.
Well, former Deputy Mayor and current Fox Metro trustee Chuck Nelson, thank you so much for joining me here tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, same here, John. Thank you.
What a great interview. What a great night so far here on Election Night in Aurora. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Before we move forward and get to our scheduled break, I would like to check in with the numbers one more time to leave you with that. We're going to take a 15-minute break. We're going to be playing some stuff for you, then we'll come back. But let's check in with the numbers one more time before we take that break. So we'll start with the mayor's race, and as Chuck Nelson recently pointed out, there is a little bit of a closing of a gap here between Alderman-at-Large John Laesch and current Mayor Richard C. Irvin. As it stands right now, Alderman Laesch has 5,779 votes, Irvin 5,248. According to percentages, Laesch has 52.41% of the vote. Irvin creeping back up, now at 47.59%. So it's evening out a little bit, but of course Laesch still has the lead by about 500 votes. On to Alderman-at-Large. This has been a bit of a surprise so far, but we'll see how things move forward. Current candidate who has never run for office, Keith Larson, has 4,552 votes. Current Alderman-at-Large, Ron Warman, the incumbent, with 3,209. So Larson, at this point, with a relatively commanding lead of about 59% of the vote, Warman at around 41%. As a reminder, all of these results are considered unofficial, and these are being sourced from all 4 county clerks' websites. So again, this is not a declaration of anything per se, but these are where the numbers add up and where they look right now at just before 9 o'clock. It's Larson with 4,552 votes, or about 59% of the vote. Warman with 3,209 and about 41% of the vote. That's for Alderman-at-Large. On to Ward 1, here we go. Alderman Daniel Barrero, still with the lead, but Hugo Saltagero has actually gained a lot of votes since we last checked back in. Barrero still with a good lead. He's at 461. Saltagero, the executive director of a nonprofit, is at 302. Ray Hall at 185. And Bishop Jeffrey D. Donaldson at 142. So as it stands right now, Barrero still in the lead and still sitting pretty, very comfortably at about 42%. But Saltagero has gained some ground. He's at about 27.71%. Hall at about 17, we'll call it, 16.97. And Jeffrey Donaldson at 13.03. So Barrero still leads in Ward 1. Remember, Barrero is the current incumbent, and he was appointed to the office by Mayor Richard C. Irvin last year. We move now to Ward 2, where Alderwoman Wani Garza, the longtime incumbent, is still in the lead. She has 238 votes at this hour. Alfonso Santoyo, the challenger, at 157. So lower turnout in Ward 2 so far. Garza, the incumbent, with the lead, 238 to 157, or about 60 to 40%. On the board for the newcomers. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be here tonight? Jonathan Nunez so far with the lead at 473. Jeffrey Hansford, the popular Barnwell Elementary School teacher, at 268. Nunez, a longtime Aurora resident, a business strategist and sales executive, has a pretty good lead right now. He's at approximately 64%, and Hansford at 36. So Nunez with 473, Hansford with 268. It's Nunez with 64% of the vote so far, and Hansford with about 36. On to board 7, Brandon Tolliver, Alderman Tolliver, still in the lead at this hour, 226 to 168 over challenger and oncology professional Javier Banuelos. If you remember, Tolliver, of course, was appointed to this position in 2023 by Mayor Richard C. Irvin. He was appointed due to the untimely death of former Alderwoman Chiquita Hart-Burns. So in Ward 7, as it stands right now, Tolliver is leading 226 to 168. In the percentage format, we're at 57% for Tolliver and about 42% for Banuelos. In Ward 9, Alderman Bugg has picked up a lot more votes. Of course, he's not running against anybody, but the last time we checked in versus now, more votes have piled in. He's gained 1,344 votes. He has encapsulated 100% of that pie. Nobody else was running against him, and Alderman Bugg, as long as things work out, will be the Ward 9 Alderman for 4 more years. And in Ward 10, Alderwoman Shweta Bade, also running unopposed. She has 343 votes right now, as confirmed by the DuPage County Clerk's website. 100%, no one is running against her, and if things work out for her as they should, she will continue to be the Ward 10 Alderwoman here in the City of Aurora. So that's where we stand just before 9 o'clock. And at this moment, we are going to be taking a quick break, but don't go anywhere. Don't leave. We have some really good stuff we're going to be showing you during these 15 minutes. A lot of things about the city and ways that you could get involved moving forward. So many events are coming to Aurora here in 2025. We want you to be a part of it. So please stay tuned for that. We'll be back in 15 minutes with more numbers, more updates, more guests. We have more to go. So please stay with us, and thank you for joining us here on Election Night in Aurora. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Monica Yonatsas.
Dick Schindel.
Omar Lopez.
Juanita Rivera.
Don Draper.
Ralph Lopez. We got 20-some years coming to this market. We got good customers. We try to bring the best product we harvest, so we're happy with that.
I'm owner of Dick's Mini Donuts, and we've been in existence since 1996, and have been doing the market for that length of time. So the market's been rather important to me.
I'm the owner, co-owner of Draper's Honey. We're in Oswego, Illinois. It's unique here because we're local, and all of our customers prefer to buy local honey.
What makes Romanian Sweet and Savory Corner unique is that we specialize in making traditional Romanian sweetbreads, smoked meats, and we love to bring the flavors of home, which is Romania, back to the community.
The thing that makes us unique is that we use regenerative agricultural practices to grow our vegetables, and we also grow organically. I like to just see all the diversity of people there are, and I'm so happy to be able to provide local organic produce to people here in Aurora.
It's all like from Puerto Rico. That's what we grew up eating. And the regulars that come, they get all their goods and then they're off. So it's like, it's always a joy to see my market family, I call them.
I like the Aurora Farmers Market because we've been here for quite a few years. We've established a lot of repeat customers who have now become our friends.
My favorite part is just the community and just how everyone is just always so friendly.
You should come to the Aurora Farmers Market. First of all, because there are many different variety of vendors. The people are very, very friendly, okay? Like I said, it's kind of a family setting. And if you want perhaps a variety of some other products, like Dick's Mini Donuts that you won't get anywhere else, that would be a reason to come. It's just a very, very friendly atmosphere.
I'm the rank 4 for the class of 2025. I have a 4.0 GPA, and I'm also president of Spanish Honor Society.
I was nominated Player of the Year by all the coaches on the white side of the GCAC conference and the all-time leading scorer for ACC.
I've always done art. What's recently clicked with me was making jewelry. It's got me a bunch of opportunities with colleges, Scholastic, and a bunch of art shows.
I'm very involved in my school. I do sports in every season, and I'm in the top 5%.
I was nominated because I was the IHSA state champion for diving.
I got involved because I want to make sure that us Hispanic students do have a purpose in this life. We can also become doctors, lawyers, and all those kind of stuff. We should be seen as having opportunities, equal opportunities like everyone else.
This year I was named co-captain, and my role is leadership and to be a leader on the court, always communicating during games and the practices. Our teamwork is important because if you can't be able to communicate with each other, you won't be able to work together. And all of our success this season has come from being able to work together and trusting each other.
Wrestling really pushed me to my limits. It's very intense when it comes to practice. It's a lot of cardio and a lot of endurance, but it taught me that I could really push myself to the limit, and I'm actually really strong.
If you're a freshman, I suggest search up a bunch of things, what you're gonna do in life, what you're gonna do in college, and start early because time runs really quickly.
Just be creative with it. Push your passion out there and push yourself more and more. If you just stay in one branch, it'll just be that branch. But if you spread out a bit more, you definitely get more opportunities and life-changing experiences.
You're gonna have to put in the extra work by yourself. You have to be 100% committed.
Even if something doesn't go your way, don't push it away just because there's so much that you can get and so much you can grow on. So just work hard and help your team out. Just get to know everyone. I think just the experience is what is the best about it.
I've had so many freshman girls. They've asked me, they're like, oh, I noticed that you're in wrestling. Should I join? I'm like, go for it, do it, join. It's so fun. Don't get me wrong, you'll be struggling the first couple of weeks, but you'll have fun.
The thing I'll miss most about Aurora Central Catholic is my family and friends. They pushed me to become the best athlete and version of myself. I wouldn't be able to have achieved all my goals without them.
Sure, there's ups and downs, but it's memorable, It sticks with you for the rest of your life. You'll remember these people for the rest of your life.
Something I'll miss about it is just the team aspect. I think everyone's very involved and know the ways to push you and everything.
I'm really gonna miss this community that I live in currently.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Schmidt, PGA Golf Operations Manager of Phillips Park Golf Course. Phillips Park goes back to 1926, 1927 when the original 9, which they called the flat 9, was constructed. Back in 34, 35 is when they added an additional 9, the hilly 9 we call it. And then in 2000, they reconstructed with the renovation and reopened in July of 2001 to include a driving range, 3-hole short course, brand new clubhouse, open for business in July of 2001. Phillips Park offers something for everybody, all golfers, men, women, juniors, seniors, novice players, good players. We've got a 3-hole short course, which is great for learning, especially those players who've got time constraints who just want to get out for a few minutes to get out and walk a few holes. Driving range, we have an 18 to 20 bay driving range. It includes grass, tee, and mats that we rotate on a regular basis to maintain turf conditions. Full clubhouse with golf shop stocked with all name brand merchandise. 2 indoor golf simulators open year-round for PGA instruction and PGA club fitting with Wilson and Callaway. And then a full restaurant, the full menu, including alcohol and other mixed drinks. What's unique about Phillips Park Golf Course is simply the 3-hole short course. Not many other golf courses in our community offer something like that, which is a great amenity for players who are looking to learn the game, again, back on time constraints, or just bring out the kids and for a good family activity. The simulators are powered by Foresight Sports. It's one of the top launch monitors in the market today. We have over 36 to 40 golf courses, including Phillips Park Golf Course, as well as practice mode where golfers can come in and practice and learn their clubs, learn their distances. It gives an opportunity to play golf 12 months a year. Phillips Park is the most competitive golf course in the Fox River Valley. We're very conscious of that with our community as well as Aurora citizens, but also our surrounding communities because we want to be able to affordable golf with great conditions. Visit Phillips Park Golf Course, the best kept secret in Fox River Valley. Book us online at www.phillipsparkaurora.com.
My name is Jill Morgan. I am a senior planner with the Zoning and Planning Division, and I specialize in historic preservation. It's important to preserve your historic homes because it gives their community character. It's not just anywhere or USA, that what sets Aurora unique is its historic homes, its historic architecture. The Historic Preservation Awards are a way for the city to honor people who've upkept their homes. So we're trying to recognize people for the effort that they put into their beautiful homes. So we just want to honor those people and recognize them. And it's not just large rehabs like Hobbs when it was completely redeveloped. It's also people who just have a regular home that they've just maintained, they painted, they've kept up the woodwork, and just looks very nice. The difference between preserving and updating a historic home is preserving is we're trying to really keep the original fabric of the home wherever possible. Sometimes people bring back elements. We had a home on the west side that added the turret back that was removed, not just preserving what's there, but even bringing it back to what it was. To be nominated for a preservation award, you have to have done exterior work to the home. We do a call for applications every year. You can nominate yourselves, you can nominate a neighbor, and just describe the work that has been done. We do try to make it special. You get to come to City Hall, get a plaque by the mayor. We do a little reception. Nothing big, but just something that we try to come and kind of celebrate you. Please join us in honoring our historic neighborhoods and historic homes and all the hard work homeowners put into their homes by submitting an application for our Mayor's Awards.
A current success story. The one that comes to mind right away would be George. He came to our shelter at the beginning of this year. He was actually tied to our back fence on a metal chain and was covered in feces. He had burns from urine on his skin and he was emaciated. You could see all of his bones. Since he has been here, he has blossomed into an amazing dog. He's obviously back up to weight. He loves to play, loves to interact with people. He's just the biggest love bug. We have great adoption numbers. Last year we adopted out, I believe, over 700 animals. I would encourage you to come down to the shelter, meet some of our animals, and hopefully take one home with you. Ultimately, those adopters make a huge difference in these homeless animals' lives.
Aurora has really proven itself as an art community. It's very welcoming to artists.
I think Aurora is sort of a creative hub, in large part because of the arts community down here.
There's a lot of artists here in Aurora, and I think that Aurora does a great job of nurturing the artistic community.
Well, I think we have a really lively art scene, and it's such an awesome energy.
We like to think that all humans are artists, and everything that we do is creative, and Aurora is a city and is unique because it nurtures that, and it puts it at the heart of everything that we do.
There's many hands in art in Aurora, and that's what's so great about our community is once you see that creativity, you want to be part of it. It's energizing.
The city does a great job in supporting the art scene. Being able to walk around and There's so many different murals and galleries. Everything just kind of like centers around art and like live music.
Things like the city having call for arts for murals is huge. It's beautiful to see all the public art. You know, art doesn't have to be stuffy in a museum, and I don't feel like we're a stuffy place. We're like a real place. So it's cool that you can see art every day when you're just driving through town or walking around the city.
There's theaters, there's artists, there's a lot of musicians, and they're all kind of congregating in the same place. Obviously, it's centered around the Paramount, and that sort of theater district feel kind of bleeds into all of the other aspects of the town, really.
The people of Aurora are so supportive to the arts, and we can feel that. We can feel that energy, and it's been building for decades. And right now, it's shining and it's big and we're dreaming big and it's an exciting time.
The art scene in Aurora is booming and it's so inspirational to see every day, whether it be visual arts from the murals you see around the city to music arts where you see our venues such as River Edge Park, the venue. It's just inspirational to see, and it's kickstarting to how theater and arts inspires and really nurtures a community as a whole.
This shared space for creative individuals to come in and get creative, get their hands dirty, and collaborate with one another and build a community.
Aurora is a great place to not only visit and live, but if you're a maker or creator, it's a really welcoming community. There's opportunities all around, from galleries to little stores to public markets. It's a great place to come and make art.
Welcome back into Election Night in Aurora 2025. My name's John Giles, our communications manager. If you're just tuning in, it's just after 9 o'clock right here Central Time, 10 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock Pacific Time. See what I did there? Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Remember, this is a production put together by the City of Aurora's Communications and Marketing Department to give you an opportunity to have a one-stop shop for all of your election needs here tonight. We're providing you with live updates on vote totals as they come in from all 4 counties. We have live interviews and many more still to come in the hopper. Plus, of course, analysis, guests, and live reports from Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp and Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp. We have some updates as it pertains to vote totals, even in these just past 15 minutes. So let's get to those right now before we introduce our next guest. So here's where we're at for the race for mayor here in Aurora. It is tight, to say the least. Alderman-at-Large John Laesch, though, still in the lead, 6,389 votes. Richard C. Irvin, the current mayor, has 5,807. So as it stands right now, Laesch with a 52.41% advantage over Irvin's 47.59%. Mayor Irvin has closed the gap a bit. Nevertheless, he's still behind and still chasing Laesch, who has been in the lead for most of the night. We move on to Alderman-at-Large, and again, Keith Larson, the current challenger to incumbent Alderman Ron Warman, is really running away with this one, at least at this point. Larson right now has about 58.4% of the votes, 6,544 votes cast for Larson. Warman, the incumbent, with 4,662. So Larson almost ahead by 2,000 votes at this point. Again, there's still time. We'll see how more ballots come in. We'll see where things are at. But at this point, it is Keith Larson, who has never run for public office before. He is an Aurora resident and a software engineer. He is leading the charge over incumbent Alderman-at-Large Ron Warman. In Ward 1, more updates, and we're starting to see a bit of a clearer picture between these four candidates. Alderman Daniel Barrero, who was appointed by Mayor Richard C. Irvin in 2024 after the resignation of former Alderman Emmanuel Yamas, is still in the lead. He has 561 votes, but behind him is Hugo Saltagero, an executive director of a nonprofit in the area. He's at 361. So it seems to be a two-person race at this point between Barrero and Saltagero. Ray Hall's at 227, and Jeffrey Donaldson is at 172. So Barrero right now about 42.5% of the vote in his favor, 27% to Saltagero, 17 to Hall, and 13 to Donaldson. So it's Alderman Barrero, the current alderman, running for an unexpired 2-year term. He's in the lead by about 200 votes. On to Ward 2 we go, and there's been some movement. Alfonso Santoyo has closed the gap at least a little bit on incumbent Alderwoman Wani Garza. Garza right now with 349 votes. Santoyo with 246 in Ward 2. Garza looking to become one of the few alder people in history to serve 5 terms. She is up by 103 votes, or 58.66% to 41.34% for Santoyo. On to Ward 4, challengers for a new seat that's been vacated by the retiring Alderman Bill Donnell. Jonathan Nunez, the business strategist and sales executive and lifelong Aurora resident, is still in the lead with 559 votes, or about 64% of the vote. Jeffrey Hansford, the popular Barnwell Elementary School teacher who's been teaching there for over 20 years, has 311 votes, or 35.75%. So again, Nunez at 559, Hansford at 311, and the percentage breakdown, Nunez is at 64% and Hansford at about 36. On to Ward 7, and a lot of votes have come in here from Kane and DuPage County in Ward 7, and it's gotten a little bit tighter right now. Alderman Brandon Tolliver, who was appointed by Mayor Richard C. Irvin in 2023 to fill the seat of Alderwoman Chiquita Hart-Burns, who passed away in office. Tolliver's at 473 votes. Javier Banuelos, a longtime community member and oncology professional, his opponent is at 411. So Tolliver at 473, Banuelos at 411. Tolliver about 53.5% of the vote, and Banuelos at about 46.5%. This is the closest the gap has been in Ward 7. So very interesting to see things move a little bit in the other direction as it pertains to Tolliver. Banuelos has gained some votes since the last time we checked in. On to Ward 9, Alderman Ed Bugg gains more votes. He's at 1,482. As a reminder, he is running unopposed. So no one's running against him. These vote totals come from Kane, DuPage, and Kendall County. And assuming everything works out for him, he will serve another 4 years on the city council. That will bring his total to 4 terms, or 16 years, representing Ward 9. And finally, on to Ward 10, some vote gains for Alderwoman Chweta Bage. She is looking to serve her second 4-year term. She ran unopposed. She's running unopposed here now. She's at 631 total votes. 100% of that pie goes to her as she is running unopposed. So that's where we stand at 9:15. Time for another guest to grace the airwaves here on Election Night in Aurora. This one's a real special one. Just a number of star-studded guests here tonight. It's been so amazing to have so many people come and join us on Election Night, talk to you in Aurora, and have a conversation with me. He's the current executive director of the Neighbor Project. He's a former candidate for mayor and a longtime City Hall staffer. Let's welcome Rick Guzman to tonight's program via Microsoft Teams. Rick, great to see you, and thank you so much for being here with me tonight.
Happy to be here.
Well, you know, Rick, it wouldn't be an election night without a correspondent from Washington, D.C., right?
Well, you know, it just happens. When you asked if I could jump on, it just happened to realize that I was going to be in Washington, D.C., so I really appreciate you being able to hook up the technology and make this work this evening.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you being here. You know, as somebody who's been around elections for a long time, right, both as a city staffer and as a candidate, what does this day at large mean to you?
Well, obviously it depends a little bit on what seat you're sitting in, and the fact that you know, as a staffer and working hard, there's a lot of people don't realize just how hard so many city staffers work. You know, it's about affirmation of that hard work, right? And seeing that people recognize and see the results that are happening, of course. At least that's what you're hoping for. But local elections are so different, right? Because the big difference between a local election and a federal election here is I've come out here to D.C. to talk to our senators here and to our congressmen, but I'm going to meet with Representative Bill Foster tomorrow directly, but mostly I'm meeting with staffers here, right? You don't get a chance as often to interact, but like with the folks who are on the ballot this evening, I get to, these are folks that I have coffee with or text with. You look at Ward 1, there's 4 candidates, which is the maximum you can have without a primary. And I know all 4 of those folks pretty well. And I think all 4 of them do a great job. I worked really closely with Dan Barrero as a city staffer. So it's great to see him getting that affirmation of the hard work that he's doing too. So it's a big difference. Local elections is where you get the opportunity to see, like the sort of personal touch to being able to. And sorry, I'm getting a little bit of feedback on my end here, so it's rattling myself here a little bit. But.
Well, Rick, let me ask you this. As we talk about you running for public office, obviously you ran for mayor in 2017 here in Aurora. What are some of your best memories from you running for public office?
Yeah, well, there were... Oops, am I with you still?
Yep, can you hear me, Rick?
Yeah, I got you. I just lost sight of you, but I can... As long as you can still hear me?
I can hear you 100%.
All right. Well, my girls were 6 and 8 at the time. And so I think some of the things that stand out to me and that I remember were ways that I could get them involved. I mean, one of the great things about Aurora is we have these local parades, right? So you get to get your friends out, your supporters out. We had T-shirts of all sizes. And we did like a hayride on the 4th of July parade, and being able to do things that involve your kids and your family and your friends. Those are the things that you really remember.
Let me ask you this, Rick. If you want to take us back to 2017 for a minute, what was it like for you to run for mayor and almost win here in Aurora? That was a contested race. Obviously, our current mayor, Mayor Richard C. Irvin, won, but you were a close second. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I don't actually reflect on it that often, believe it or not. I'm not one of those people that believes that everything happens for a reason necessarily, but I do believe that when one door closes, another one opens. And one of the great things that opened up as a result of that was, an opportunity to partner really closely with the city. And I've had a great opportunity to partner very closely with Mayor Irvin. If I think back to that time, I think what stands out to me and what I remember is that it was actually, for the most part, some of the communications that were out there maybe were a little edgy, right, as they always are. But it was a fairly cordial campaign. I mean, Mike Saville was in that race, Linda Chapel-Levia was in that race, and Richard Irvin. And myself. These were all folks that I had known for a long time, worked with a long time. And so while we had our disagreements, we had for the most part, a pretty cordial race. We respected where each other was coming from, pointed out differences. But I think at the same time, these are folks we knew we were going to be working with moving forward regardless. And so there's a certain amount of respect that you have for everybody that throws their hat in the ring.
That's such a great point, Rick. I mean, how important would you say is civility in running for public office?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the studies tell you that the negative messaging and campaigning gets results. And so a lot of the campaign professionals will tell you you've got to do some of that stuff. And I think that most candidates prefer not to do that, would love to just run on their ideas. But it's one of those things that just enters in at some point. And when it gets down, just as we're seeing tonight, something that's really, really close, it can be really tough sometimes to sort of like, decide, are you going to try to stay positive the whole time? Or are you going to, point out some negative aspects maybe of the other side? It's one of the toughest things about running for office.
Would you say that's one of the bigger challenges in running, or what were some of the bigger challenges that you faced when you ran for mayor?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but I think that the real challenge is that, you've probably heard people describe Aurora as the biggest small town out there, right? And what that means is kind of two things. Is the stuff that works in small towns works in Aurora. Door-to-door campaigning, getting out there, meeting people, showing up, making sure that you're around and present and listening to people. But it's also still a big town. And so it's a lot of door knocking if you want to try to get around a town of 200,000. And you've got to raise a lot of money to try to get your message out if you're going to send mailers out to all the eligible voters. And so it's a lot of challenges that come with that. I think that there's a lot that makes it more appealing, though, too, because it is a nonpartisan race, because you do know so many people. You have an opportunity to connect with people on an actual personal level rather than having people judge you before you ever show up because of your party's platform. So it's definitely a different situation when you run locally, and I'm not sure I have the what it takes maybe to get into that level where you're having the political parties really get involved, controlling your messaging and a lot of that kind of stuff. So locally there's definitely challenges, but it's also a lot more appealing to just be able to representing your neighbors, talking to your neighbors, and trying to kind of make sure that you're representing people you actually know.
You brought up a great point, too, because Aurora, and I've heard that before, Aurora is the biggest small town in Illinois, for example. Voter turnout is super important. And in these consolidated elections, getting people to come out and vote for you is going to make the biggest difference in whether you win or whether you lose. How important is voter turnout here in Aurora as it pertains to winning an election?
Well, I think that it's everything, really. I mean, obviously, the way that we run our elections, you've got that Ward 1 race I referred to earlier. Because there are 4 candidates, just whoever gets the most. You don't need to get 50% in that case. So someone could win with 26% of the vote, depending on how close that is. And it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen tonight. But in my race was 171 votes. But that was nowhere near the closest election that we've had for mayor in Aurora. I had the privilege of working for 2 mayors, Mayor Tom Weisner, and most of his elections weren't that close. But I also got to work for Mayor Bob O'Connor, who both of these men were mentors to me, great men, great leaders in our city, have buildings named after them. But Bob O'Connor ran when he was younger. I was 39 when I ran. Bob, I think, was in his early 30s when he ran. And I believe he only lost by about 30 or 32 votes. So that goes back a little ways. But, there have been other elections decided by less than 100 votes. So voter turnout really means even more in a local election.
Former City Hall staffer and current executive director of the Neighbor Project, Rick Guzman, joins me here on Election Night in Aurora. Rick, tell us more about your work with the Neighbor Project right now.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. We are an organization that takes our name from our belief that the neighbors, the people in our community are the answer. It's a grassroots community development approach that believes that if we can equip our neighbors to make contributions by becoming homeowners, investing in their own neighborhoods, building wealth, creating more opportunities for the next generation, that actually makes our entire community much better off. And ultimately, if our neighbors aren't doing well, if our neighbors sort of struggle month to month to month, then that actually impacts all of us too, because it makes our neighborhoods less stable. And less stable neighborhoods are less safe, and it really makes it really makes it important that if our neighbors are doing well, then we know that all of us are doing well.
Rick, I got to wrap it up. We have a couple of updates we want to get to. Thank you so much for joining us here on Election Night in Aurora. That's Rick Guzman, longtime City Hall staffer, former mayoral candidate, and, of course, the executive director of the Neighbor Project. Rick, thank you so much for joining us from D.C.
My pleasure. Good luck tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rick. We're going to go check in right now. This is Election Night in Aurora. We're going to check in with our field reporters. We have Sam Loveland over at Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp and Danielle Tufano over at Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp. We're going to start, and we'll check in first with Danielle Tufano, as she has a guest with her right now. Let's see how it's going over there at Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp.
Party here, and we're having so much fun. I'll tell you, this place is hopping. So Alderman-at-Large, one of the candidates here, Keith Larson, I'll tell you what, you've got some fans here in the crowd, and people are cheering, people are excited, and you have kind of a unique situation. You have a really unique story. You're not a politician. You have never run for office before. You never really had ambition to run for office. You're young. What was the story behind really wanting to get in and run? See, people are cheering for you already behind us. What was your story? Why did you decide to run for Alderman-at-Large?
I started coming to city council meetings around a year ago, and I wanted to make sure my voice was being heard. And it turns out there were a lot of other people in the city that felt like their voices weren't being heard. So I thought this was a good opportunity to go out, knock on doors, talk to people, and figure out what their concerns are. And if I can win, and I don't know, numbers are looking good, but it's not over yet. If I can get in there and represent people, I want to make sure people's voices are being heard, and they feel heard, and they have input in the solutions to all the problems.
Keith, what do you love most about the city of Aurora and the people that live here and work here and visit here?
Aurora is a very diverse city, and diversity is, I think, one of the most beautiful things in the world. So we were talking about this earlier. Aurora, not only is it diverse, but Aurora is the second biggest city in the state, but it also feels like a small town. Everyone knows each other. Despite all of the differences, all of our different backgrounds, and I think that's really beautiful.
Why is it important for people to come together on a night like this?
On election night, whatever happens, that's democracy. It's the voices of the people, and whether or not it goes the way you want it, that's what we need to live with, and I think that's part of living in a community. We need to make sure that we're hearing our neighbors, and even if we don't agree with everything, just make sure we're coming together.
You've kind of answered this already. This is all new to you as not really a career politician, but what has been your biggest takeaway from all of this?
I guess the biggest takeaway is that someone like me can win an election, but this wasn't just me. This was the work of so many people behind the scenes, people who know way more than me. John and his campaign team have taught me so much, but so many people were knocking doors, making phone calls, texting people, telling their friends, their family, putting literature in bags, all sorts of little things that most people don't think about that goes on behind the scenes. It was a large, coordinated effort, and I could never have done this by myself. So it really shows that even if you don't have a lot of money, you don't have political experience, people coming together can really make things happen and change things for the better, hopefully.
Well, good luck tonight. Keith Larson, Alderman-at-Large candidate. We are so blessed to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you, John, in the studio.
Thank you so much, Danielle. We have some breaking news coming from Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp. We're going to take you there right now.
They recognize. But most of all, I want to apologize to my family, my friends, my supporters. This hasn't just been a difficult race for me. This has been a difficult race for them as well. They were attacked. They were maligned. They were disregarded. Disrespected. And that's wrong. And I hope as we go forward, the residents of Aurora and all the politicians that are involved will put aside the hatefulness. Will put aside the dissension and the divisiveness. And they will continue to work to make this city one of the best cities in the state of Illinois and arguably one of the best cities in this entire country. Because that's what we were about in the Irvin administration. So as I serve out my last month as mayor, I would do it with pride. I would do it with my head held high, knowing that I did so much for my hometown. You know, I thank you very much. As my mother stands beside me here, who raised me in low-income housing, right here in Aurora, raising two boys as a teenage mother, single mother herself. I was never supposed to be standing on the stage before you anyway. It was hard work, determination, and grit that got me and my mother here. Amen. It was our hard work ethic, even though we grew up in the hood, that got us here. This ain't the end for me, y'all. This was just the beginning. This was just the beginning. If I've come this far, I ain't gonna stop now. I may not be the mayor of Aurora the next 4 years, but I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. Aurora! 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 I love you all. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the 59th Mayor of Aurora, Mayor Richard C. Irvin.
Thank you all for staying with us. It seemed as if, and we cut in a little bit late, and we apologize. So many things were going on at once. We tried to make sure we got there as soon as possible, but it seemed as if Mayor Richard C. Irvin may have given a concession speech right there. So we will learn more and take a look at some numbers. I think it'd be nice to get an update of numbers right now and see where we're at. But it looks as if Mayor Richard C. Irvin just gave a concession speech. Let's take a look at the numbers. We also have a guest here to break this all down. It's perfect timing for our guest coming up in just a second. Let's look at the numbers first. So with a lot of votes being cast here, Alderman-at-Large John Laesch has 9,008 votes cast for him. Current Mayor Richard C. Irvin, who seemingly just issued a concession speech, is at 8,189. 52% to 48%. Irvin behind by about 800 votes. That gap has increased. He was as close as about 500, even 400 in some cases, but that gap has increased to about 800, almost 900. And again, what you just heard was parts of a concession speech from the current mayor, Richard C. Irvin. We'll go to Alderman-at-Large, where Keith Larson, who was endorsed by Alderman-at-Large John Laesch, is walloping Alderman-at-Large current Ron Warman. Larson right now has a lead of over 2,000 votes over the incumbent, 7,842 votes to 5,814 for Warman. Larson is at 57.4% of the vote. Warman at about 42.6. So right now, Larson and Laesch, who ran together, campaigned together, did a lot of things together, are seemingly leading both the mayor's race and the Alderman-at-Large race that we're seeing. The incumbents who campaigned together, Mayor Richard C. Irvin and Alderman-at-Large Ron Warman, are a distant second. In Ward 1, Alderman Daniel Barrero, with many more votes coming to his name, he has a commanding lead right now. 734 votes for him. Hugo Saltagero, a distant second at 452. Ray Hall with 299. And Jeffrey Donaldson with 224. Barrero is at 43%. Saltagero at about 26.5%. 17.5% for Hall. 13% for Donaldson. Moving on to Ward 2 now, Wani Garza, the current incumbent. Alderwoman Garza at 415 votes. Alfonso Santoyo, the challenger who also campaigned with Laesch and Larson, is behind, not by much, but still some time to go. Garza right now at about 59% of the vote, 41% for Santoyo. Santoyo behind by about 115, we'll call it. On to Board 4, Jonathan Nunez. More of a commanding lead for him. He's approaching the 1,000-vote mark at 956 in total. Hansford at 616. 61% of the vote in Ward 4 is going to Jonathan Nunez, about 39% to Hansford. Nunez, a lifelong Aurora resident, and, he looks like he's running away with this one, at least in Ward 4. On to Board 7, the current mayor's appointee, Brandon Tolliver, Alderman Tolliver at 590, challenger Javier Banuelos at 511. So Tolliver currently leading, still close. He's only leading by about 80 votes, but currently he leads 590 to 511, or in percentage form, about 54 to 46. In Ward 9, it's Alderman Ed Bugg with 1,482 votes, or 100% of the vote. And then in Ward 10, Alderwoman Shweta Bade at 631. No one is opposing her. She has 100% of the vote. Those are the totals as we sit here at about 9:40 p.m. Well, we just heard from current Mayor Richard C. Irvin. Let's go now and hear from current Alderman-at-Large, John Laesch. So thank you for joining us back. That is a live look in at Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp. They're getting ready to begin their speech, what would seemingly be a victory speech after Mayor Richard C. Irvin, the current 59th mayor of Aurora, gave what seemed to be a concession speech just a little bit ago. We kind of broke into it midstream, and we heard what he had to say, and we'll hear in a minute what Alderman-at-Large John Laesch has to say. Certainly an interesting development, and we'll see what he has to say in his speech coming up momentarily. It's going to be coming up here pretty soon. Just a reminder for you tuning in, this is election night in Aurora. We're so glad that you've spent your evening here with us as we've done our best to provide you with great coverage, talk to you about all the vote totals that are coming in, introduce you to a bevy of amazing guests with so much institutional knowledge of Aurora, plus analysis and live reports from Mayor Richard C. Irvin's camp and Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp. My name's John Giles. I'm our communications manager. Our communications and marketing department at large has put together this entire telecast just for you. We want to give you the opportunity to find one spot to look at all the vote totals, to have a chance to learn more about each candidate that's running, and really, moving forward, get you involved in the democratic process right here in the city of Aurora. We're live right now on ACTV Channel 10, Xfinity Channel 99, AT&T Uverse. We're also live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Remember, those comments are enabled. Feel free to comment. Let us know what you think as we see some new developments. Now, we'll go check in with Alderman-at-Large John Laesch's camp over at Two Brothers Roundhouse here in downtown Aurora.
Let's hear it, Aurora! All right. Puro. Si se puro. Good evening, Aurora. Tonight, the candle of hope burns a little brighter in our city, in our state, and across the United States of America. 9 months ago, we stood along the bank of the Fox River, and there was a good number of you that were out there when we first announced. And I told you that in 9 months, we would give birth to a radical new idea of a government and economy that works for everybody. Tonight we took a big step forward, and we did it together. I just want to say that throughout this campaign, it has never been just me or a select group of people. It has always been the Aurora community. And throughout this whole experience, I've been truly humbled by all of you, because repeatedly, every time we got attacked, I never had to defend myself because you did it for me. And there were a lot of ugly attacks. And it started, if you remember, about my house being painted. When people came to the city council and attacked me for having to paint my house, and so the community stepped up and came to help. And then, when we all got on the ballot, 16 candidates, they tried to remove us from the ballot. And once again, you all stepped up to defend us, go out and get the affidavits in an incredibly timely amount of manner, and we kept Jasmine, Karina, and myself all on the ballot. And this wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened without the best election lawyer in the state of Illinois. Ed Mullen, where are ya? And the other thing is that the attacks continued, right? Throughout, all the way up until probably 2 days ago, we were all getting negative mailer, and everybody thought that it would stick. It didn't. Because I think Aurorans have figured out that they can't trust everything that comes in the mail with a smear campaign. And the reason for that is because all of you were knocking on doors and telling them the truth about what kind of government we want to have, telling them the truth about our military record and every other thing that they tried to do to discredit us. And I want to say I'm very, very thankful for all of you for stepping up time and again. This isn't my win, this is our win. And I want to just say, there's no longer going to be two Auroras, because this is not just how we ran a campaign, this is how we're going to run the city together. And I guess first out, I just want to recognize, I could spend an hour here thanking each and every person individually, but let's recognize Jasmine Garcia and Karina Garcia for being the first to endorse our campaigns. She won a new mayor. We've got a new mayor. I also need to thank the leadership that was the helm of this team, because today I did a little bit of putting out fires, but Kate Cuneo also. Where's Kate at? There she is. Not only did she manage the campaign, she's a single mom, raising 3 kids. And she's also, if the numbers I last looked at, she's the Batavia 6th Ward alderperson. And also, parachuting in, I've never been more impressed to see somebody hit the ground running. Charles Stelnacki, thank you. Charles Charles has been part of a lot of campaigns, but this one, you know, he had less than 30 days to get to know all of you. And I think everybody understands his level of expertise and his ability to just blend right into this group and help Kate, because she had to run for her own race and do all that she's doing. Really couldn't have done it without you. And I can say that pretty much for everybody in this room. And somebody else I just want to recognize in the leadership level who wasn't part of our day-to-day activity, but Steph Perez started out in my very first campaign, 2006, and now he's a seasoned professional doing what he loves, and would say that he's one of the best unpaid advisors who deserves a lot more for what he does in the political realm. But thank you, Steph. And Charles came from Activate, Illinois, and I want to just call out, you know, we won by what, 600 votes? It's probably going to be a few more, but what that means is that every community that stepped up can claim this victory. Because without you, it wouldn't have happened. Without the Muslim American community, without Impact, Activate Illinois, all the people who are making calls, Salah Khalid, Cher Ellie. We're going to look at the numbers. You guys made a difference in the primary. You made a difference in the election and results tonight. We couldn't have done it without you. And I know that Senator Villa is here because I told her when she endorsed, and Casamichio Khan, that we weren't just going to say that we beat a Trump Republican, but that Latino Americans beat a Trump Republican. This is your fight. Without your work today and all your effort, we wouldn't be here cheering tonight. Say puro. I also want to recognize definitely Gautam Bhatia, who I got to know in the last campaign, and Ram Tyagi, who ran for library board and really gave his all. And without them, we would not have done so well in the Indian American community. I know it because I was walking Ward 10 today, and everybody said, yeah, Ram already told me about you. You did so much to mobilize the community, and it's a very true statement. It's a very true statement. But it wouldn't have happened, seriously, if you guys hadn't done what you did, and I'm very grateful for it. And then I also need to recognize the Liberians for Laesch. And now, thank you for mobilizing your support, because again, it was a close election, and what you did helped. And I look forward to working with you to be a strong representative, to be the first Liberian American elected to the City of Aurora. And then I need to call out all of the candidates. I need to call out all of the other candidates who run for office, because we built a team with the idea that we would be stronger together. And it was all of us knocking on doors, talking to voters in our neighborhoods, in our wards, that won this election. And the truth is, if it wasn't for you running, and I know that we did not make it all across the line, that we wouldn't be here, and that's a fact. And then I just want to specifically make a statement and address to all of the aldermen. First, I want to congratulate Alderman Keith Larson. Alderman Dan Barrero is not here. I don't know if he's here, but Dan is someone who is on the city council because of the work of Ray Hall and myself and a bunch of others, and State's Attorney Mosser, who helped remove the first ward alderman when he did not live in that ward and moved to Ward 5. So Ward 2, I know that Alfonso worked very hard in this campaign and is one of the people, he's one of the people that I identified with most closely. He's a Navy veteran, he's a union member, he's a union leader, union strong. And in Ward 7, you know, Javier and Mireya Benuelos, I became very close friends. I met Javier knocking on doors, and he said, I want to run for alderman. And I first thought I was in the 9th Ward, but it turns out I was in the 7th Ward, and we did work with them to get him on the ballot. But they didn't make it tonight, so I'll be working closely with Alderman Tolliver and all of the other alder people. So I just want to send a very clear message to the aldermen in our city that while we have not always gone along, we now have a responsibility to lead our city together. I'll be reaching out to all of them individually to make sure that they know that the mayor's door will be open to every single alderman to make sure that your needs across the city are addressed, because it is not okay for the mayor to pick favorites and only work with certain aldermen. It's our job to work with all of them, because that's the only way that we're going to represent everybody. And then I just want to have a few words. There's a lot of people who helped our campaign get to where it is. We are going to have a victory party. We're going to celebrate tonight. There is a little administrative thing to do with thanking everybody. I think we have drink tickets. I just don't know where they are, and I don't know how you get one. But I know that we've opened a tab. Okay, at the back. See, if you look all the way at the back, there's some red drink tickets there. Make sure to grab a drink ticket because they've been paid for, and I want to make sure everybody has fun tonight and celebrates. Don't drink and drive. The Aurora police are already overworked. And then I want to just paint a little bit of a picture about what the transition looks like, because I know that there's city staff members who have been told that we'll be cleaning house on day one. I don't want to look anything like the federal government. We're not. This will be a very steady, stable government that I want to run. I want to make sure that we are responsive to the needs of Aurora, and that is meaning going to have a city staff that is adequately trained, that understands this new culture that's going to come into City Hall. And I'm going to work with all the city staff to make sure that they fit in and make sure that they are understanding our culture, our new culture of being responsive to the Aurora residents. But I will depend heavily on our staff and the transition team that we put together. And then finally, I just want to tell the Aurora community that in my first 90 days, I will be holding listening sessions to share my vision with the city, but also to hear what issues and concerns people have and make sure that we start to build a relationship, because the number one thing I want to make sure is that your city government and the John Laesch administration works for you, the Aurora taxpayer. I do greatly appreciate everybody who came out here tonight. I'm going to let anybody else who wants to come up and speak, or you get tired of it, you can just turn the music on. Thank you, Aurora.
Well, that was Alderman-at-Large John Laesch giving his victory speech as he looks to be the 60th mayor of Aurora. Before we get to our final guest here in the evening, who's going to provide a great perspective on everything we've just seen, let's go look at one final time at the vote totals. We're going to then interview our guest and wrap it up here tonight. Let's go to the votes. So just before 10 o'clock p.m. Central Time, here's where we stand here tonight. Alderman-at-Large John Laesch just gave a victory speech, and he appears to be the mayor-elect. Again, all of these results, keep in mind, are unofficial until they're formally certified and tallied up by each of the 4 counties. But Mayor Richard C. Irvin gave a concession speech. Alderman-at-Large John Laesch gave a victory speech. Laesch right now is at 9,188 votes. Irvin at 8,374. Laesch with about 52% of the vote. Irvin with almost 48%. As we move to Alderman-at-Large, Keith Larson, who campaigned with Laesch and has done a lot of things with Alderman-at-Large John Laesch, is going to be becoming, it seems, again, an Alderman-at-Large himself. He has done a big job over Alderman Ron Warman. Larson right now with 9,355 votes. Warman with 6,761. Larson, a lead of nearly 3,000 votes. He has a 58% lead to about 42% for Warman at this time. On to Board 1, you just heard Laesch talk about Alderman Dan Barrero. Barrero, appointed by Mayor Richard C. Irvin. He's had a great turnout so far and a good election for him. He's at 775 votes, in Ward 1. Hugo Saltagerald at 486, Hall at 326, and Jeffrey Donaldson at 236. So it's Barrero at about 42.5%, Saltagerald at about 27. We have Ray Hall at about 18, and Jeffrey Donaldson at about 13. On to Board 2, it's tight, but Alderwoman Wani Garza seems to have at least is still leading this race. I don't want to say she's won, but she's leading this race at this hour with about 59% to about 41% for the challenger, Alfonso Santoyo. Garza has 415 votes, and Santoyo stands at 291. On to Board 4, Jonathan Nunez, the business executive, sales executive, and longtime Aurora resident, is on top of Jeffrey S. Hansford, who is a longtime Bardwell Elementary School teacher. Nunez at 956 votes, Hansford at 616, Nunez at about 61% of the vote, Hansford at about 39%. On to Ward 7, things have gotten much more tight in Ward 7. This is the tightest we've seen it all night. Alderman Brandon Tolliver is at 631 votes. The challenger, Javier Banuelos, is right behind him at 614, 17 votes. Is the difference right now between Tolliver and Banuelos. Tolliver about 51%, Banuelos about 49%. This is a really tight race, and we may not know who wins this one here tonight. We're going to have to wait and see as more ballots come in. On to Board 9, of course, Alderman Ed Bugg has won 1,749 votes. He has had no challengers. He gets 100% of the pie, and he will serve for 4 more years as Aurora's Board 9 alderman. And then in Ward 10, Alderwoman Schwedebade with 1,386 votes. It looks like some more votes have come in since the last time we checked. That's from the DuPage County Clerk's website. She's at 100% of the pie as well. Nobody ran against her, so she's at 1,386. And due to this, she'll serve for another 4 years, which will be her second term in office. And that's where we stand right at 10 o'clock. So it's 10 o'clock. We saw speeches. We want to wrap it up tonight with a really great guest, an important guest who's going to give us some great perspective on everything that we've witnessed here tonight. We appreciate all of you hanging out here with us for these past 3 hours. He's currently a political science and history professor at Waubonsie Community College, and he's also a sitting Village of Plainfield trustee. Let's welcome Professor Richard Kiefer to the program. Professor, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, John.
So we see the votes come in. We've seen most of the results. How important are elections like this from a local perspective after all that we've seen here tonight?
Well, they're huge, and just the numbers you just read over talk about how important it is to really get every vote out that you can. You know, the local elections a lot of times get overlooked by voters. Voter turnout's not as high as in other elections, but these are the type of people that you elect that are going to affect your infrastructure, your police departments, your fire protection districts, your school districts, your park boards. It has a huge impact on your daily quality of life and the things that you really interact with government on a day-to-day basis. It's huge.
We're going to get some raw reaction right now, but obviously we didn't expect all of these results to come in so quickly, which is good now that we have an idea and we know what's happened. So what's your take on what you've seen here tonight?
Well, one politics move really fast. It is kind of crazy how you think about a campaign season that goes on for months and months, and all the you saw the two camps, and they talk about thanking all the hard work that goes into it and the people involved, and then it all comes down to one night. I'm looking at these numbers on your screen, and it looks like the mayor-elect is up by just over 800 votes. That's tight. That's tight for a city as large as Aurora. 180,000 people. Voter turnout matters, and unfortunately there are some reasons, but unfortunately you have low voter turnout, and every vote counts. Few of your closer races are down to just a handful, less than 20 votes. I see one of your ward races, and that's going to be something that'll haunt people. That if why didn't I get out and vote? It really does have an impact on who gets elected to these positions.
What do you think needs to be done to encourage more people to come out and vote in these consolidated local elections?
It's kind of a hard one. It's still, I think in a lot of ways, it still comes down to money and advertisement and media coverage. We could look at election turnouts, and every election's different. The election that obviously brings in the most voters out to the polls is the presidential election every 4 years. There's different theories on why it drops off so much. Part of it could be a little bit of political burnout. You're tired of the negative ads that you're seeing, and we had a very contested election last fall. Part of it, though, also is with these type of elections, you really do still rely on door-to-door, getting the vote out, trying to make your message, pleading to individual voters. You still rely on old-fashioned mailers that come in the mail. Social media is so much more of a I guess an equalizer this time, but you still have to find that sweet spot of motivating voters to show up to vote for you without alienate them by being irritated by the text message you keep receiving. So it's a tough one. I don't think it's an easy answer. Illinois does a pretty good job of trying to accommodate voters, encourage voters to get out. We have early voting. We've had it for almost 20 years now. More people are doing it, and we had it for these consolidated elections, but unfortunately the data seems to suggest the people that are taking advantage of early voting are the people that normally voted anyway. So it hasn't overwhelmed the voter turnout for these elections.
Let me ask you this, as a sitting Village of Plainfield trustee, what's been your method in winning an election?
Well, that's a good question. So I am in my, this is the second anniversary, I guess, of my election the first time around. I got involved in village politics in 2009. I applied to serve on the Planning Commission for our village, a very important commission. I was appointed by the mayor at that time. I did that for over 12 years, and for the last 7, I was actually the chairperson of the Planning Commission. And in 2023, a number of people asked me, we had 3 board seats open. They asked me if I would be interested in perhaps running. Initially, it wasn't on my radar. I didn't think I wanted to do that. I kind of liked the appointed position without having to deal with the day-to-day politics of it. But I also teach political science at the community college, at Waubonsie Community College. And I always tell my students, you really should get involved. You really should step up. Someone has to. It's really disheartening when you have elections and no one runs or they run uncontested. That really doesn't give the voters a choice to even compare people. So I felt it would be a little bit hypocritical if I just said, no, I'm not interested in running. Before I made that decision, I did speak with my wife. I thought for sure she would talk me out of it and say, why would you want to do this? Just the opposite happened. She looked at me and said, well, what else are you doing? Why don't you get involved? So I felt, okay, now I really have to do it. But it was really kind of eye-opening. I'll tell you, the biggest challenge was you have to get signature petitions signed to get on the ballot. And there's a lot of paperwork involved, nothing too cumbersome, but the signature petitions, going door to door to do that, I imagine people watching at home know this. Almost everybody has some sort of Ring doorbell or some sort of camera door. Nobody is excited about seeing someone at their door with a clipboard. and, no matter how well you're dressed or how casual you are. And that was hard to get people to answer the door. A lot of them pretend they weren't home, or what do you want? And when you explain that you were there just trying to get on the ballot and offer them choice, most people came to the door. And I can say pretty confidently, probably 95% of the people I actually spoke with agreed to sign my signature petitions to get on the ballot. They didn't commit to vote for me, obviously, but it was a good feeling to know that a good way to meet people. And It worked out. The election season get kind of long. You get your paperwork in, and you have the spring term. Things really heat up once you get into February and really the beginning of March. That's kind of the consolidated election season. We did some fun things, like we participated in the Irish parade we have in March in the village of Plainfield. And a lot of good friends, and my son dressed up. It was great, and I think that helped get my name out too. But it was a good experience, and obviously, winning one of the seats is a better feeling than going through all that effort and not winning. Going into it, I thought worst case I would just at least have some stories I could share with my students in class about maybe how not to run a campaign, but it turns out I had some examples of what might work.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because you are a political science professor at Waubonsee and you're a sitting trustee on a local government. So did anything from your class maybe help you or help you to get into that position?
Well, for the position I was running for, I've always had a deep love of history and politics and studying the past, and I like to think I'm pretty up on current events. But probably what prepared me the most was being on the Planning Commission, because you saw a lot of development coming through that commission. And really, any type of proposal, whether it's commercial, residential developments, zoning ordinances, variances, you really do a lot of vetting of those. And you take sworn testimony and you make recommendations. Ultimately, it goes up to the village board. We have a trustee model with a village president, 6 trustees and the village president that kind of runs the meeting. And ultimately, it's their decision. So part of it to me was feeling like, well, I'd like to maybe take it to fruition. I'd like to maybe have the final say on some of these projects as opposed to just handing it off to somebody else. And with that comes other responsibilities, and I think a lot more studying and reading up on the issues to figure out the nuances of it. But I think that prepared me the most for it. Obviously, the idea of campaigns at the national level are different than the local and even state level. But I had a pretty good idea, and working on other people's campaigns, I had a good idea of what it was going to entail.
Professor Richard Keeper from Waubonsee Community College and a current village trustee at Plainfield joins us to get the last word on election night here in Aurora. Professor, how excited are you about the future of the Fox Valley at large? Plainfield's undergone some great development. Aurora has as well. What excites you about the future of this area?
Well, it is very exciting, and I work at Waubonsee Community College full-time, and we're part of this area too. We have 4 campuses in the region. Our main one's out at Sugar Grove, but we have a very large presence in downtown Aurora and out at the Copley Medical Facility and out in Plano. So we see all this stuff day to day. But you're right. Aurora and Plainfield have a lot of things to be very proud of. We have historic downtowns. You have a riverfront. A lot of communities don't have these things. We have a lot going for us. We have people that want to live in these communities. There's economic opportunity. There's a lot of kind of exciting development going on, whether it's new home construction or economic redevelopment. I know in Plainfield, infrastructure is a big thing that's coming to fruition over the next few years that we've worked very hard on. One of the things I've noticed being on the village board now is that a lot of what's coming to fruition now is things that has been in the works for 20 years, and it takes that long to get the funding for big projects and have the vision and the ability to bring it to closure. But Aurora and the Fox Valley area, it has a lot going on. You look at the east side by the Route 59 corridor, there's all sorts of development going on there. You look at where the casino's relocating up by 88, out by the outlet malls, that's going to be an engine of development. And then you have all these opportunities down here that also opens up too in the downtown area. So I'm excited about it a lot. I could go on and on about Plainfield, but I know we're in the Aurora City Hall this evening. But it's just a good time to be in this area, and people keep coming to this area. They want to live in this area of Illinois.
And Professor, before we close out here tonight, I do want to ask you this. You are a professor here at Waubonsee, and you serve a lot of Aurora's youth, especially as they attend community college here at Waubonsee. What's the most rewarding part for you being a professor and teaching youth here in Aurora?
Well, I find it very rewarding. I'm obviously biased. I work at a community college. I think it's the best opportunity for a lot of people, especially if you're undecided on what you want to study. Come out and take a couple classes. We have fantastic programs to prepare you for the job market, get you into a new career. If you're unsure what you want to do, take some classes that interest you. You can knock out your first 2 years or even complete an associate's degree towards a four-year degree. We have most of my students are either taking electives in the history or political science area, or they're working towards a four-year degree. So they're going to transfer and go somewhere else. And money should always be a consideration. This is your community college. We have a huge district. Aurora is a big part of it. It's one of the largest engines of student enrollment for us. It's a fantastic resource to have. Not all communities have a college this close to them that really is supported by your property taxes and your enrollment. And I would recommend, if no one has ever been out there, we do tours all the time, please come out. They let you sit in. I'll be happy to talk to you if you ever want to talk about political science or history classes. I think it's the best opportunity for really everybody, and it's whether it's a new graduate, someone returning from the workplace, or someone who's retired looking to just take a class to learn something. Take a look at our schedule. It's all online, and it's fantastic. It's your community college.
Well, Professor Richard Keeper, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. Perfect way to wrap up election night coverage here in Aurora. So as we wrap up coverage here tonight, we'd like to thank everybody behind the scenes for putting this telecast together. I want to thank the City of Aurora, both mayoral candidates for agreeing to this, Tony Martinez, Matt Winters, Luke Hattendorf, Alex Johnson, Dennis Healy, Franco Ochoa, Sam Loveland, Danielle Tufano, Blanca Vargas, Kylie Sosa, and Allison Janis for all their help and all their hard work in airing tonight's program. This communications and marketing department up here works hard to deliver you what you need, information, and it was a total team effort here tonight. We could not have done this without every single person that we mentioned. I'd also like to thank Alderman Mike Saville, Alderman Bill Donnell, former Deputy Mayor Chuck Nelson, Rick Guzman, Professor Richard Keeper, Audrey Esquivel, and Ashley Hatcher for joining me live right here tonight to offer their perspective on election night. For our campaign reporters, Sam Loveland and Danielle Tufano, I'm John Giles, saying so long from Aurora as our city made its voice heard here on election night. Good night.